giving a couple of minutes so that as many participants as possible should come into the meeting before we officially start. I am here to share some quick housekeeping information before passing this on to the Master of Ceremony and host of today's session. We are providing simultaneous interpretation in 3 languages, English, French, and Portuguese. We are providing simultaneous interpretation in English, French, and Portuguese. If you need translation, please look at the bottom of your screen, bottom right, and click on the interpretation button. We invite all our panelists when intervening to use their preferred language. Use the language you're most comfortable in, since interpretation is available. I see now that we have over 100 participants in the meeting as we are warming up to start. L'interprétation simultanée est disponible en anglais, en français et en portugais. Nous invitons les panélistes à s'exprimer dans la langue de leur choix. Okay, so again, welcome to the 15th Malabo Montpellier Forum. Get your interpretation ready as we gear up to kick off the meeting. Without further ado, I will pass this on to our Master of Ceremony. He is a visiting researcher at Imperial College London and a member of the Malabo Montpellier panel. Please welcome Dr. Debisi Araba.
Thank you very much, Dr. Butake. Greetings and welcome, colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to the Malabo Montpellier Forum. My name is Debisi Araba, as I've been introduced. It is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to this 15th convening of the forum. We would like to walk you through the proceedings of today. In a short while, I will be introducing the Executive Chairperson of Academia 2063 and co-chair of the Malabo Montpellier panel to provide his welcome remarks. But before I do so, I just wanted to say that this report really is a coalescing of the best policy innovations across the continent that we've identified through cases that will be highlighted and discussed in depth, or at least showcased in depth, of where innovations are happening across the continent. And our hope is that other countries across the continent can identify opportunities for adjusting, amending, improving on their policies, practice, systems in the aquaculture and fisheries sectors of their respective countries, sub-regions, to ensure that we create this shared race to the top to improve prosperity across the continent. Now, having said that, and without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce my dear friend, my Oga, Dr. Usman Badian, Executive Chairperson, Academia 2063, and co-chair of the Malabo Montpellier panel for the welcome remarks. Dr. Badian, you have the floor. You are muted.
Thank you, Dr. Araba. It's a pleasure always and an honor to have you with us. Your Excellencies have made time to join us here today. Thank you very much. Your time here is appreciated. And we know that your schedule is extremely tight. So thank you. Thank you as well to our board member who is here with us today. And thank you to our funders, in particular BMZ. Thank you to our fellow panel members who are joining this 15th edition of the Malabo Montpellier Forum. I would also would like to recognize the 2 co-chairs of the forum, Dr. Ambassador Asia Bensala, who is here with us today, and her co-chair who couldn't join us. Thank you for being here with us and gracing our forum today with your attendance. Ladies and gentlemen, the Malabo Montpellier Forum is for us an opportunity to exchange on lessons about where progress is taking place across the continent and the factors that are driving that progress, so that we can scale them up, but also imitate them in other countries as a way of accelerating progress across the continent. The original idea of the Malabo Montpellier panel, which is the technical arm of the Montpellier Malabo Forum, the premise is that after 2 decades of broad-based progress across the continent, there must be a lot of things going right in very many places, but not in every place, and also not everything. So the idea is, how can we pinpoint where things are going well, why are they going well, and what is being done, and how, so that we all can learn from that collectively to accelerate progress on the continent, which cannot be fast enough given rapid population growth, but also long economic stagnation in the 70s and 80s, and all the delays that caused, but also the pressure to move forward even faster on so many different fronts. So what we are doing when we take a topic like fisheries and aquaculture that we're discussing today, our team, and thank you to Aisha and your colleagues on the team here, our team develops a methodology to rank African countries, select the top 4 to 6 countries that are making the most of progress based on the methodology we developed. Then we go to those countries and look at what are they doing. And when we say what and are and they, we mean government action. There may be a lot of things that explain why things are succeeding, including, how programs are designed, how they're being executed, better understanding and the level of resources, and a lot of other things. Those are well and good. But what we think countries can easily and quickly emulate and copy is action by governments. So when we go to a country, therefore, and we have a topic, we ask ourselves, what are the institutional innovations that the countries have put in place to make progress in that area? We ask, what are the policy reforms that they have put in place to make progress in that area? We ask, what are the programmatic interventions that they have put in place to make progress in that area? You take those 3, it's easy for any government, any leader to basically come up with plans and ideas to introduce institutional innovations that is available to every leader. Same with policy reforms that are available to every government, and programs can be developed and therefore emulate the success on the ground. Right? So those are the aspects that you will be hearing here about today. The 4 countries that have been selected, the factors that are driving success in those countries, and the lessons we are drawing from that we hopefully can also have other countries embrace and therefore spread the success faster across the continent. So this is what we are here for today, and thank you to all of you for joining us. And I will turn over now to the Master of Ceremony to lead us to the rest of the program. Welcome to each and every one of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Badian. I would now like to invite Professor Joachim von Braun, Distinguished Professor, Center for Development Research, ZEF, at the University of Bonn, and co-chair of the Malabo Montpellier panel. Professor von Braun.
Thank you very much, DBC. Excellencies, colleagues, and friends, warm welcome also from my side. Special welcome and recognition to our forum co-chair, Ambassador Asya Ben Saleh. Special greetings to Commissioner Sacco. It is great that we have such a big turnout of high quality experts, and policy advisors and policymakers in the field of fisheries and aquaculture. I have learned over the years that there's something special about fisheries-related communities. They exercise quality collective action, working together, benefiting from knowledge among each other. I think this bodes well for our meeting today. My wish and our hidden agenda of today's meeting can be to build a community of practice on African fisheries and aquaculture with a community that is gathered today. Let me make two broad comments. The fisheries and aquaculture issues of Africa relate to the beautiful and nature-rich African coastal areas, the rivers and lakes, and to modern aquaculture at specific locations where water is available, where fish can be bred, where feed can be provided, where health and environmental health can be protected. But there's one specific important aspect that is not on that list, which we highlight in the report, and that is the skills, the science and the technology to advance this very promising sector. So supporting innovation and increase research, including the funding for it and Pan-African cooperation, is very important to move the fisheries and aquacultures forward in their different dimensions. What I think needs to be emphasized as a follow-up to our meeting today and the release of the report is also that the African voice in the international fora on ocean fisheries needs to be amplified, and we are here to support that. So a sector of great opportunities from a diet and from an employment and job creating opportunity. And let's follow up to the report release today as a community of practice. Let's mimic the fisheries community working together for the future. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Professor Van Braun, for your remarks. It is now my distinct pleasure to invite the two speakers to deliver their opening statements. His Excellency, first I will call on His Excellency Haile Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia and co-chair of the Malabo Montpellier Forum.
I'm afraid he has not yet joined us.
All right. Okay, in that case, I will now invite our second speaker who will speak first, Her Excellency Ambassador Josefa Leonel Correa Sacco, Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment at the Africa Union Commission. Ambassador Sacco, you have the floor, please.
Thank you for giving me the floor. Let me acknowledge the presence of all the ministers present, my brother Usman Badian, distinguished representative of Multilateral and Bilateral Development Agency. Ladies and gentlemen, Ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. All protocol observed. I just arrived this morning. I cannot put the video. I'm tired. So just allow me to talk without my face. You all know me.
Yes, we do. Please carry on, Ambassador.
Yeah, please. I was really, I arrived this morning, so I'm still on the jet lag, whatever. Yeah.
It's
I would
greatly
like to
appreciated. Thank you for making time for us.
I would like to express my gratitude to the Malabo Montpellier panel, which is under the able steward of His Excellency Ali Mariam Desalegn Boch, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, and His Excellencies Asia Ben Salah Aliou, Ambassador at Large of His Majesty Mohammed VI, the King of Morocco, for the invitation to participate in this meeting. The panel has been providing high-quality research that supports high-level decision makers in effectively designing and implementing evidence-based policy for sustainable food system transformation in Africa. The theme of the 15th Malabo Montpellier panel report, Fish Friendly, policy innovation for sustainable fishery and aquaculture in Africa, will not be more timely. It is of a great importance and offers well-researched information, which is valuable as we seek innovative ways to unlock the potential of fishery and aquaculture in line with the recent adopted CADEP Strategy and Action Plan 2026-2035 by our head of state and government in Kampala, Uganda, just about 3 weeks ago. Fish is a key source of affordable animal protein, significantly contributing to Africa's food security. The fishery sector also sustains the livelihood of the population employed directly or indirectly along the value chain, from pre-production, which includes research, to production, processing, marketing, and trade. Remarkably, the fishery sector provides self-employment and income opportunity to many women and youth engaged in small-scale fish processing and trading. Processing also helps reduce post-harvest losses, improving food security and nutrition in the region. Additionally, fish processing contributes to transforming Africa's aquatic food system and generating more income from exports than from raw products, significantly contributing to economic growth and development. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in 2014, the African Union's policy framework and reform strategy for fishery and aquaculture in Africa was developed under the leadership of the Commission through its Department for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy, and Sustainable Environment at the African Union Commission, and in collaboration with the key technical partners. This framework and strategy serves as a governance blueprint to enhance the development and management of Africa's fishery and aquaculture sector. It offers guidance on addressing some of the sector's key challenges, such as pollution and overfishing, which negatively impacts the sustainability of fishery resources. It also promotes inclusive trade and marketing of fish to improve the economic benefits of fishery and aquaculture across the continent. Following the policy framework and reform strategy for fishery and aquaculture in Africa, the African Union Commission, through the same department led by AU IBER, developed the African Blue Economy Strategy in 2019 in alignment with Agenda 2063. The Blue Economy Strategy is a blueprint for African member states to address institutional, governance, and technology limitations and steer the growth of the fishery and aquaculture sector. The needed transformation of our African aquatic food system hinges on the healthy policy and the business environment to unlock the potential of abundant water resources and rich fishery biodiversity for national food security and blue economy development. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased that the present Malabo Montpellier panel report highlights what countries have done right regarding institutional and policy innovation and programmatic intervention to sustainably boost the development of their fishery and aquaculture value chain. The report highlights the positive impact of policies and programs and provides lessons learned from the country's case study. This serves as a guide to other countries that would like to achieve similar outcome in alignment with the new CADEP strategy objective. The report also offers local and international collaboration opportunity to strengthen, capture fishery and aquaculture to present and future generation. I believe that effective implementation of the proposed action agenda by the Malabo Montpellier panel will help bridge to growing gaps in the demand and supply of fish in Africa and contribute to fishery ecosystem restoration. I look forward to the exciting discussions with sector experts and learning from different countries' experience during the roundtable section with ministers and other senior countries representatives. I thank you very much for your kind attention. Merci beaucoup, shukran, muito obrigado, muitas gracias, asante sana.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Sacco, for those stirring remarks. I want to find out, is Dr. Hastings from Malawi on the call? Dr. Hastings?
Yes, I am in.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
please,
you.
yes.
I just want to confirm if the Honorable Minister will be joining us today. Is he online?
Yes, the Honorable Minister, I've seen him, he is online.
Okay. In that case, thank you. In that case, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is my distinct pleasure to invite our guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Owen Shomanika, Minister of Natural Resources and Climate Change for the Republic of Malawi, to deliver his opening remarks. Honorable Minister, you have the floor. If you're speaking, Minister, we can't hear you. Perhaps you're muted.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson, and all the members of the organizing committee. Hello?
Yes, please go ahead, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah, saying thank you very much to you, Chairperson, and all those that have taken part in organizing this gathering. Being new in the ministry and also being new on this platform, receive greetings from the Republic of Malawi. I wanted just to say one or two things regarding how we are faring as a country and also what we are trying to do to improve the effectiveness of fisheries resources management for our economic growth and also our relevance to the global world. Generally, as a country, we have faced a number of climatic shocks recently in the past 4 years, and at the moment we are making some efforts in a number of areas regarding our fisheries and aquaculture. In this case, we are making some efforts in monitoring and controlling in as far as the lake and other water bodies are concerned, to a point that we have even a project that we are trying to improve the infrastructure for our officers and the monitoring and control efforts that we are supposed to be doing, like the Namiasi Bay, where we are doing all this. And as a government also, we are making efforts to make sure that, for example, the office block, we are making efforts to ensure that the financing is coming from what we call Development Part 2, which is our own resources, while we are working with partners also who are also contributing big, like African Development Bank and FAO, who have been very key in ensuring that we are able to grow in our fisheries and aquaculture. And also in research and development, we are making efforts. Currently, we are trying so hard to invest in genetic improvements of our fish, mostly the chambo, at our Domasi Aquaculture Center. So in research and development, we are making some efforts, and we are hoping that this will also improve the effectiveness of our fisheries resource management. And soon we might be also getting to another type. After improving to level 2, we might go to another level soon. Our scientists are working on that. On capacity building, we have the Malawi College of Fisheries, which amidst all the challenges, we are making an effort as government and as Department of Fisheries through the Department of Fisheries under the leadership of my colleague here, Dr. Zidane. We are trying so hard that in capacity building, we should be able to improve. So that's where we are. An investment just recently, 2 weeks or a week ago, we had the Aquaculture Investment Forum in Malawi, which we organized so that all players in the value chain are able to come together to engage in a proper discourse on how best we can improve and manage our aquaculture value chain to grow. Because currently as a country, our demand for fish is very high. We need around 700,000 metric tons per year, but what we are producing is slightly above 200,000, to a point that we are even importing some from neighboring countries. But we are, from this investment forum, where there are some resolutions that were made regarding how best we can improve our seed, fish seed, and also how we can do in as far as feed is concerned, to a point that recently, through the help from African Development Bank and support from them, we have managed to put some feed mills, one feed mill in Nzuzu that can produce around 10,000 metric tons of feed per hour. And we are trying to also do the same in another city in another area like Zomba, so that feed should be present, because we feel that if we can have this produced within the country, it might affect the cost drivers and lower the cost of production in as far as we are concerned. On the legislative and policy front, we understand that one of the pillars we should be pursuing is about policy innovation and institutional strengthening. And one of the things that can help us doing so, we are convinced as a country, is that we need to review the Fisheries Act because the legislation we have not, it has been very sluggish in as far as changes to be made to it. And also the policy framework, we have it in place, the strategy, we have it in place. And what is now required is to work on the funding. And what are we doing as a country, as a government in funding? We are trying so hard. Currently, we have now a presidential initiative, even on aquaculture, where we want to at least mobilize something close to 300 million so that we invest it properly. And that is underway. We are working on making sure that we roll this initiative out. And also, most of our departments and agencies have faced a problem in as far as government funding is concerned, like the expenses for operations and the rest. But I think what we are now doing is to ensure that we talk with the Treasury and we talk with other ministries, departments, and agencies that have got a role in this to clearly put what is their role, so that government interventions and government funding, government support is clearly earmarked, so that our team of experts and our smallholder farmers and everyone who is affected in this chain should be able to get something out of it. So as a government, and I'm sure as a minister, my role is to ensure that the mandate for which this ministry was set is met. And one of the areas of concentration is to make sure that fisheries department is functioning and we are able to grow and we are contributing to the growth of the Republic. So fisheries resource management is key in my mandate and is key to the focus we have as a government. So that's what I can share to the colleagues here, that as ourselves, we are committed. That's why the outcomes and the narratives that comes from this gathering are of great importance to us, because that's what will improve us. And that's a platform where we'll be able to learn and also unlearn and improve on what we are supposed to do as government and what we are supposed to do to support the fisheries department, so that we spur growth in totality. Otherwise, chairperson and all the colleagues who are here, that's what I would say. And I'm very convinced that governments are very significant if we are to improve fisheries resource management for national growth. We are very convinced that ministries responsible, they have a great job to create an environment, both legal environment, even the political environment for spurring such efficiency and effectiveness and economy in fisheries resource management. And that conviction is what has made me even to come here and say that we are trying. We might not be doing much, but our resolve is that we need to do more. And through the learning of this platform and the sharings we might have and the commitments we are exposing ourselves, we are very sure that we'll be able to improve and grow our production and grow our status in as far as fisheries is concerned, and even grow the contribution we are making currently, because currently we are recruiting employment rates from the fisheries are not all that giving us confidence, but we are very much sure in as far as the potential of what fisheries and aquaculture can do in creating employment for our people and thereby reducing poverty, and also even the contribution they can make towards the GDP of this country. We are very much convinced. That's why it's our effort now, even myself as a minister, it's an effort that I need to take to lead the ministry and the department responsible, that we get the gains that are required and support our producers and our players in the value chain, those that are main and also even the smallholder producers. We have a number of ponds of producers of fish that are around this country, more than 10,000, but some have started well, some are not doing well. I think it's also the responsibility of government of Malawi to make sure that we create a conducive environment for this. That is us affecting and properly, positively infecting the economic environment, so that we do something for our people. And politically, we are politicians, yes, but I think political will is a key to all these things, because there's a great need of investment in as far as fisheries and aquaculture is concerned in Malawi. There's a great need for investing in the infrastructure, investing in the knowledge, the technical sophistication. We also need that. Just a few days ago, I visited some of our scientists who are doing the breeding of Chambo. You could see these highly motivated people with great passion, but I think to an extent, as government, we can do more to have these people dedicate themselves. So
Yes.
that's what I can submit, but our commitment even to this gathering is not questionable, and we are not ashamed to belong to this gathering, and we'll always participate. You can count on our participation. Thank you very much, moderator, and thank you very much, all participants. That's what I can say at the moment. I'm just new, so I don't need to say much, but thank you very much. And that's what I can say about this country.
Wonderful. Honorable Dr. Owen Chumanika, Minister of Natural Resources and Climate Change for the Republic of Malawi. Thank you very much for those inspiring words. Thank you for your service. And thank you for doing Malawi proud and doing Africa proud. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard Dr. Chumanika share about the challenge as the government understands it, and the leadership that the government of Malawi is exercising to promote aquaculture and fisheries in their country. And now I would like to invite two distinguished scientists, Dr. Aisha Musazi Nakito and Dr. Heike Baumüller, to present the findings of the report. Of course, the title of our report is Fish Friendly: Policy Innovations for Sustainable Fisheries and Aquaculture in Africa. Dr. Nakito is a scientist and Malabo Montpellier panel interim program lead at Academia 2063. Dr. Baumüller is a senior researcher at the Center for Development Research, University of Bonn, where we now invite both of you to provide your respective presentations, beginning with Dr. Nakito. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Debisi. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Good morning to you all, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. It's indeed a great honor for me to present the 15th Malabo Montpellier report on behalf of the Malabo Montpellier panel and the team. Next slide, please. So the presentation outline is shown here. We'll start off by sharing the main report findings and also lessons from country case studies. And then Dr. Heike will share the action agenda and the recommendation. So starting off with the main findings of the report, let's first get an overview of the state of capture fisheries and aquaculture in Africa. So we know that Africa is home to a vast network of freshwater and marine resources, and also Africa's coastal and island states control over or about 13 million square meters of ocean territory, of which more than 1.5 million kilometers squared is exclusive economic zones. And of the total global capture fisheries reported in 2022, which is 223 million metric tons, Africa contributed 6%, which is slightly an increase from the contribution in 2000, which was 5.4%. And also in 2000, 5.6, reaching 2.5 million metric tons. However, most of this aquaculture production came from Egypt and distantly followed by Nigeria. So as we see in the graph, the contribution of Africa to global aquaculture is still low, but it still has potential to further increase. Capture fisheries also increased by about 52%, and this is a great step in the right direction. And how about the future prospects? We'll then look at what the future holds for Africa's fisheries and aquaculture. Next slide. So recent reports have shown that there is a rising demand for fish in the continent and beyond. This demand is mainly due to the increasing population, rapid urbanization, and rising incomes within Africa. So this is also coupled with a recognition that and demand for protein-rich foods, which are nutritious foods. So this demand presents opportunities for employment and job creation along the fisheries and aquaculture sector, along the value chains, production, especially processing, where we see many young people have opportunities to get employment, as reported in the previous Malabo Montpellier report on food processing. So ultimately, taking on these opportunities along the value chains will contribute to improving food security, nutrition, and economic development. However, the continent is still facing challenges in the sector, such as unsustainable fishing practices, which deplete fish stocks. So annually, IUU is leading to a loss of about 11.2 billion USD in Africa. And also poor management in aquaculture production introduces pollution, disease, and habitat destruction. So additionally, where we have overuse of excess feed in aquaculture, this leads to contamination of nearby waters, affecting the local species. So that means that habitat degradation and sustainable fishing practices are challenges, and these normally arise from limited knowledge and skills, as well as lack or weak comprehensive governance frameworks. So when we move on to looking at another challenge in climate change, warmer waters forcing fish to migrate towards cooler regions, disrupting local ecosystems and limiting local fish availability, leading to negative impacts on food security and livelihoods of coastal communities. And then when we look at the business environment, establishment of enterprises is also hindered where we have an unfavorable business environment. So this may be due to expensive inputs, such as cost of quality feeds, due to high taxes, for example, and also lack of access to technologies along the fisheries and aquaculture value chains. This can also arise from limited access to modern technologies, which may either be expensive or unavailable in the markets. Looking at post-harvest losses, this is also partly due to lack of the technologies that are needed. And also maybe if you look at those that can a great innovation to include into this aspect of the value chain. This is because fish are highly perishable and spoil quickly after harvest. So if improperly handled and preserved, this can affect aquatic food availability for consumers. Looking at limited data, the absence of reliable and comprehensive data is also a challenge, especially on fish stocks, habitats, and ecosystem health, because this is critical when you need to ensure sustainable management of these resources. So without accurate information, it becomes challenging to assess fish populations, track seasonal variations, or forecast the potential impacts of of climate change, pollution, and overfishing. So consequently, this limits the prioritization of the sector in national planning. So Africa moving towards increasing on addressing these challenges. For example, they are signatories to various international conventions and agreements and are guided by a range of continental and global policy frameworks to govern the fisheries and aquaculture. These frameworks, as we can see here, provide institutional support necessary for countries to implement sustainable management practices that ensure the protection of aquatic resources while fostering economic development. So by aligning with these global and regional commitments, such as the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and the Port State Measures Agreement, African nations are better placed to sustainably manage their national fisheries and aquaculture sectors, address environmental challenges, and improve livelihoods in the continent. Additionally, the African Union has developed various frameworks, as we see here, to advance capture fisheries and aquaculture in the continent. So these guide the development and implementation of policies in the sector at the national level and also at the regional economic bodies aimed at addressing challenges across the value chains. And so next, we are going to look at the lessons from the country case studies to see what countries are doing to address some of the challenges I've shared in a previous slide. So the report, as mentioned by Dr. Usman at the start of the forum, the report provides case studies for systematically selected countries that have shown the most success and progress in growing their fisheries and aquaculture. And each case study reviews the institutional and policy innovations and programmatic interventions that contribute to creating a conducive environment for the sustainable development of fisheries and aquaculture in the sector for transformation of aquatic food systems. So here is an outline of the methodology taken. The aim was to identify the countries that have made most progress as indicated. So the African country, these are the indicators. We used a 5-step approach to using the indicators below. So that is the level and growth of capture fisheries production, level and growth of aquaculture production, level and growth of apparent aquatic food consumption per capita, and environmental performance indicator. So these indicators were compared and then ranked, and then the selection of countries based on how the countries rank in these indicators. So maybe just to give you an overview, the first indicator, so the African countries with high levels of capture fisheries and aquaculture production shows consistent and also showed consistent growth in fish production and aquaculture. It means that implemented strategies that have spurred this growth. So these governments have demonstrated a high commitment in promoting the sustainable growth of the sector to improve food security, nutrition, and economic growth. Looking at high aquatic food consumption and per capita, this reflects the importance of aquatic foods in the national diet and the potential for domestic consumption to drive this demand for increased fish production. This indicator also suggests that the potential contribution of the sector to improving the country's food security and nutrition. And then lastly, the environmental performance indicator provides the global state of sustainability, but it has different categories. So the one used in this case is a fisheries category for this analysis. So moving on to the first 3 steps. So the table here is showing you a summary of the analysis that was taken. The table on the left, we have the performance of countries in capture fisheries production level and annual growth. That's the ranking of the countries. So the countries that ranked high in both, that is the capture fisheries level, production level, and the growth, those are the ones highlighted in green on the table on the right, on the column on the right, on the left, sorry. And then on the column on the right, we have the performance of countries in aquaculture production level and annual growth. So the ones highlighted in green showed high production in aquaculture and annual growth. And then the next step, step 3, then we identify which countries are appearing in both the highlighted sections, which are green. So countries here, we have Angola, Cameroon, Ghana, Malawi, Mali, Morocco, and Mozambique. Then moving on to step 4, we then looked at the countries that rank high in aquatic food consumption per capita. So the countries in this table that are highlighted in green also ranked high. That is in aquatic consumption per capita level and also the growth in the same indicator over the years. So the countries here, we then selected the countries that appear both in the previous slide, the ones which were highlighted red and the ones highlighted red in this slide, those are the ones that therefore performed high that had a high performance in aquaculture production level and growth, capture production level and growth, and also here aquatic food consumption per capita level and growth. So these countries are Cameroon, Ghana, Malawi, Mali, Morocco, and Mozambique. So this then took us to step 5, where we looked at the environmental performance index score. So here, using the fisheries category, a higher score indicates more sustainable use of a country's marine fisheries resources. That is the EPI fisheries issue category score. And also we looked at the 10-year change to see the ones which, how the countries performed over the years. That is from 2014 to 2024. So looking at also other parameters, for example, of those countries that we've seen in the previous slide, we also then assess to see which countries could be having an EU ban, possibly due to the non-cooperative aspects in combating IUU, and also availability of data, as seen in the next slide. So these countries are Ghana, Malawi, Morocco, and Mozambique. These are the ones that passed that assessment as not having an EU ban, as non-cooperating in IUU, combating IUU, and also availability of data. So Ghana, Morocco, and Mozambique represent the coastal countries, and then Malawi represents the landlocked countries. So now we move on to the lessons learned from these 4 case country studies, and starting off with Ghana. So here I would like to highlight the Ghana's strategies in enhancing capacity building and aquaculture production. So Ghana supports development of improved fish breeding techniques and dissemination of these findings. For example, Aquaculture Research and Development Center conducts research and shares these findings through training on advanced fishing practices to communities. Also, beyond institutional support, Ghana implements programs that enhance aquaculture production through infrastructure development, which is equally important, as demonstrated in Ghana's Aquaculture Food and Job program. This is a flagship program from the government, which has also led to construction of the National Aquaculture Center, and this also trains youth in fish production and promotes job creation. This program has also led to establishment of numerous aquaculture production facilities, leading to production of about 32 million fingerlings, which were also distributed, that is 2023. Additionally, the government is expanding its training programs in post-harvest handling and fish processing, alongside investments in cold storage. As we see here, we have the Ghana's Safe Fish Certification and License Scheme, which has successfully offered training in fish processing towards small-scale processors, with about 1,300 youth trained in 2023. And also the government is providing a conducive environment by addressing some of the challenges that are faced in the private sector, such as the high feed cost and access to finances, as seen through the Chamber of Aquaculture. And then for Malawi, here we are focusing on or highlighting the innovative financial and trade solutions for the growth of the sector in the country. Malawi has the Export Development Fund, which provides tailored financial solutions to enterprises engaged in fish processing to better enable them to cover their procurement and manufacturing costs and wages. So these financial interventions enhance the growth of the sector as they facilitate increased processing and value addition, as well as supporting exporters to compete favorably with peers across the region. It also has an incubation program which trains these food processors, amongst other entrepreneurs, on business skills and how to succeed in their ventures. Also, we have the Malawi Revenue Authority, which offers tax incentives to fishers and aquaculture sector. For example, fish feed is exempt from duty, and also fishing vessels and equipment that are used in processing or preservation of fishery products are duty-free. So this is significantly reducing the cost of key inputs in the sector, which is enabling it advance or expand. Also, we saw that Malawi is prioritizing the fisheries and aquaculture in their national development plans and visions, which enables them to further focus their more funding into that sector, that is capacity building programs, investment of infrastructure and equipment, as seen in the Malawi 2063, and also the Malawi Growth and Development Strategy. And also previously they had the Local Development Fund, which really supported many operators in the value chains. So just to go through, we also have the innovative funding that is being observed in different institutions in the country to supplement funding from the government. For example, the Malawi Bureau of Standards provides training services in processing or environmental management, fish quality. So these services offered in the Malabo Bureau of Standards, it enables it to collect some funds from these training services, which is then used to supplement the governmental funding in order to enforce the standards that it develops. For example, it develops standards, different standards that ensure fish and fishery products are of quality, amongst other standards it develops. And then the Malawi's National Aquaculture Center, which Honorable Owen mentioned in his opening remarks, it generates revenue by producing and selling high quality fish feed and fingerlings, a model which many other research institutions could replicate. And lastly, for Malawi, we're looking at the government enhancing small scalers' access to fish farming technologies and diverse extension services through implementation of the National Agriculture Investment Plan. So this has strengthened livelihoods for the fishing communities and provides them with diverse extension services and technologies. And then moving on to Morocco. Morocco has done a lot to ensure that the environment is protected as it excels in its marine fisheries production. Additionally, we are looking at how it's sharing its data to all stakeholders. So the governments need to effectively implement policies that increase the use of climate resilient practices in the sector, improve the resource management, and also promote ecosystem-based approaches to conserve biodiversity. So in Morocco, looking at the law number 4917 on environmental impact assessments, this mandates that all aquaculture projects undergo an environmental impact assessment before receiving approval to proceed. So this ensures responsible development in the sector and helps minimize the potential negative impacts of aquaculture on marine ecosystems. Morocco's comprehensive fisheries and aquaculture plan is also has done a lot to advance the sector. For example, it ensures increased investment in the surveillance of marine fishing activities, for example, through satellite-based vessel monitoring systems and also radio frequency identification. All this has enabled it to effectively combat IUU fishing practices. Additionally, this plan or strategy ensures the well-being of workers by encouraging fishers and workers engaged in the fisheries value chain to enroll into the generalization of social coverage for fishermen program. And Morocco's extensive investment in research has equipped the country with data that it needs to boost the sector sustainably. And this is seen through, for example, the National Institute of Fisheries, which also trains the communities on advanced fishing techniques. It goes without saying that in 2022, Morocco in Africa, looking at the continent at large, it had the highest capture fisheries. So it's very good to note that in addition to increasing capture production, it also ensures that the environment is protected and therefore preserving the fisheries resources. And also, therefore, after having talked about the data, we also see that the dissemination of this data to all stakeholders has been critical. For example, through the implementation of an innovative, interactive, scientific information platform. So data that has been, or research from the National Institute of Fisheries is disseminated to all stakeholders, that is the researchers, farmers, managers, and policymakers on that platform in order to support decision-making in line with sustainability goals. And lastly, looking at Mozambique, Mozambique has also done a lot to promote sustainable practices and financial access to different actors along the fisheries and aquaculture value chains. And so here we are saying that to eliminate harmful and unsustainable fishing practices, it involves developing policies and regulatory frameworks that specifically address the issue and ensure their effective enforcement at local and national levels, as seen here with the Mozambique's National Plan of Action to prevent, deter, and eliminate IUU fishing. So this needs to be to also be done in addition to a strong regional and international cooperation attitude or approach to address transboundary fisheries issues. And so such efforts also need to be coupled with infrastructure, technology, and capacity building investments. For example, Mozambique has invested in advanced monitoring, control, and surveillance of fishing fleets, and with further investment, this further investment is supported by the policy environment, such as the monitoring, control, and surveillance strategy. And also, we've seen that Mozambique has the fisheries master plans, which have promoted establishment of projects that financially support smallholders and also fish farmers, such as the artisanal fisheries development project. Now, this one has provided credit to fishers to enhance fish production and also to traders to promote the fish marketing, also supporting construction of community level fisheries infrastructure, among others. In addition to credits, other projects have also provided grants to artisanal fishers, such as the more sustainable fish program. So here, over 1,000 fishers and small-scale entrepreneurs have been supported in terms of improving fishing techniques, reducing their vulnerability to adverse impacts of climate change, and hence boosting the local food security. And lastly, looking at Mozambique, it has established funding agencies that are specific to the fisheries and aquaculture sector. And for example, there is the Blue Economy Development Fund, which finances projects and training programs that promote sustainable use of marine resources. And of course, as seen here, we see the Oceanographic Institute of Mozambique. Now, this one has conducted a lot of research that is critical in advancing production sustainably. And in addition to doing the research, it also conducts scientific training to mentor the other young people interested in that career path, hence promoting literacy and the practice on sustainable practices in the sector. So now I would like to give the floor to Dr. Heike, who is going to share the way forward, the action agenda and recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aisha. So based on this detailed evidence that was presented and also the in-depth analysis of the case studies, the report outlines 4 areas of action to ensure that African fishers can exploit their own marine and inland water resources and to also scale the aquaculture sector. So the first area is the need for investments in infrastructure, technology, and regulations. I think this is a topic that has really been a red thread through all the other presentations that have been made. So the first area that is within this broader action area that is being highlighted is the need for infrastructure investments. Some of these will be specific to capture fisheries, such as ports. Some will be specific to aquaculture. Here, the report stresses in particular the need to invest in hatcheries and in feed production. And some of them will be cross-cutting across the sector, related to marketing, in particular cold chain technologies, processing, road infrastructure. There's also need for innovative solutions and in the aquaculture system that are adapted to the African context and that are adapted to the challenges of climate change in the future, such as, for example, integrated rice fish farming. A third area being highlighted is the need to look into the potential of mobile technologies as a way of collecting data, but also to facilitate communication along value chains. And a fourth area that's being highlighted is the need to look at systematic monitoring and also the enforcement to combat IUU fishing and to facilitate resource management of shared fisheries resources. The second area of action relates specifically to smallholder aquaculture. This is very differently developed across the continent. In some areas, we're seeing already far advanced aquaculture production at the small scale as well. In others, this is a sector that is still growing. And especially for smallholders, the aquaculture sector can be an important source of food and also an important source of income. So the first priority area here is the need to invest in financial products that are specific to the needs of smallholder fish farmers, such as microloans, low credit, interest credits, but also insurance options, which will become even more important with severe weather events that could be expected for the future. The second area relates to the importance of improving market participation for smallholder farmers. That includes, on the one hand, sharing market information. Here, digital technologies, again, could play an important role, but also just increasing the efficiency of supply chains so that smallholder farmers can be effectively linked to the market. And overarching national and regional policies are needed to improve these market linkages and also improve access to inputs. And the fourth area, which again was already highlighted before, is the need to invest in training and skill development programs that are specifically targeted at smallholder aquaculture producers. The fourth area revolves around innovation and research funding specifically. So on the one hand, to support innovation in the fisheries and aquaculture, capture fisheries and aquaculture sector, we see good experiences with the scaling of innovation hubs that are one stop for innovators to share experiences, meet funders, meet other innovators, but also mentorship programs to build a skilled workforce. There's a need to prioritize funding in fisheries and aquaculture at various levels. And all of this will only be helpful and be scalable in a business environment if there's collaboration between governments, private sector, and universities to leverage resources, to leverage expertise, and to bring innovations to market. And the last area of action that we'd like to highlight, next slide, please. Thank you. Is the need for cooperation, regional cooperation, regional integration, and trade facilitation. And here it will be important to leverage the frameworks that already exist. There's already a lot of policy engagement happening at the sub-regional and the continental level that Dr. Aisha was also referring to at the beginning of this presentation that can be leveraged, in particular also with the newly launched Kampala CAADP declaration for the coming 10 years. Similarly, in the case of IUU fishing, since fish stocks don't respect national boundaries, so regional harmonization of fishing regulations and also actions and monitoring will be essential if we want to combat IUU fishing effectively. And finally, to facilitate trade in fish and fish products, especially within Africa, there's needs for common certification systems and labeling systems to show sustainably harvested and high quality fish products that can be traded, and also for streamlining customs procedures and eliminating tariffs to facilitate trade flows across borders of these fish products. Thank you very much. These were the action areas, and the following slide was just an example of the various reports that have been published and that are available along with this report on the Malabo Montpellier panel website.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bamila, and also Dr. Nakito, for taking us through the report. And moving on real quick to the reflections on the outcome of the report, I would like to invite Her Excellency Dr. Assia Ben Salah Alawi, the Ambassador at Large to the King of Morocco and co-chair of the Malabo Montpellier Forum, to share her reflections on the outcomes of the report. Dr. Alawi, you have the floor. You're muted. Still muted. Okay.
Dr. Debisi, maybe the Secretariat can help unmute in case.
Yeah, but I think she appears to be adjusting a device. The tech team, could you kindly support Dr. Alawi to unmute? Would that be okay with you, Dr. Alawi, for them to do it remotely? Can you unmute her microphone remotely?
Hi, Debisi.
Yeah, I see the message that it can't be done.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
ask her to unmute, but we cannot unmute her. We can only mute her though.
I see.
So I'm connecting with her offline to see if she can rejoin the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, can you?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Wonderful. Success.
Thank you.
Okay, I will start hoping, that the computer will open, but, it's really a problem. Anyway, good morning, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. It is a profound honor for me to address you today as the Malabo Montpellier Forum co-chair and share with you my reflections on the Malabo Montpellier panel report on policy innovations for sustainable fisheries and aquaculture in Africa. Let me thank the Malabo Montpellier Forum panel, for such aspiring and extremely high quality report. The report indeed provides first a comprehensive overview of the relevant frameworks and international agreements which set legal basis for action, ensure synergy, and can boost national policies to integrate local experience, all critical to improve management, governance, and for this vital sector. Secondly, the 15th Malabo Montpellier gives us a great platform to discuss the states of Africa's fisheries and aquaculture sector, which not only includes challenges faced and recommended solutions, but also the policy and strategy priorities in Africa's fisheries and aquaculture sector. Thirdly, it highlights in depth 4 countries' successful institutional and policy interventions in this sector, examples which could inspire other African countries for adaptation, replication, and scaling up. We are all aware that Africa is indeed richly blessed with numerous water bodies found in both inland and along its long coastal marine areas. This makes us well positioned to draw upon the blue economy and unlock the opportunities from these resources for economic growth. As mentioned in the panel's report presentation by Dr. Aisha and Dr. Haik, whom I really thank sincerely for this rich and concise presentations, these opportunities are indeed enormous due to the increasing demand for fish arising from the rapidly growing population, which reached, as we know, 1.5 billion in 2024, and rising income levels, and as well changing dietary habits. In that respect, it is great indeed that many people in the region recognize the incredible health benefits of consuming fish and fish products, such as fish powder, which can be added to other foods such as porridges, reducing underweight and stunting among our children and other vulnerable populations. Although the fisheries and aquaculture sector present employment opportunities too, which are especially vital for the large number of unemployed youth in the continent, great care must be taken to increase the adoption of sustainable fishing and fish farming practices, which is still low in different parts of the continent. As we all know, the fishery sector is facing many challenges in addition to the negative impacts of climate change, such as drought, rising waters, warming and pollution. Overfishing and illegal, undocumented and unreported fishing need to be urgently curbed, as they have significantly contributed to the increase of fish deficit in Africa. In that respect, we will be needing consistent and significant improvements across the continent to meet the 74% increase in the supply of fish products required for 2050, just to maintain Africa's current per capita consumption of, of 9.4 kilo in 2021, making of it the third global region, while ensuring sustainable management of aquatic resources in line with UN SDG Goal 14 and all the other related SDGs, extremely important. So this is a real challenge. I'm pleased to see the very timely launch of this report, however, following the recent adoption of the Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Programme, Strategy and Action Plan 2026-2035 by African heads of states and governments in Kampala, Uganda. This strategy prioritizes the development of fisheries and aquaculture, as clearly underlines some of its strategic objectives. For example, in strategic objective 1, training fish farmers for increased sustainable productivity is key for sustainable food production, agro-industrialization, and trade. In strategic objective 3, fish is considered vital in ensuring food and nutrition security and reducing malnutrition of all forms. And strategic objective 5, for instance, highlights ways of reducing vulnerability to major shocks and stresses in aquaculture, fisheries, livestock, and also crop production in order to build resilient agri-food systems. To enhance the attainment of the goals of the new CAADP strategy, African states need to draw on the lessons from the panel's report, which not only also emphasize these priorities, but includes case studies of Ghana, Malawi, Morocco, and Mozambique. These, for examples, that I find particularly interesting include, among many other things, the Ghana Standards Authority, for instance, supports improving the competitiveness of locally produced food products, including fish and fish products. Malawi's National Fisheries and Aquaculture Policy promotes the establishment of programs that train and educate fishing communities about sustainable practices and their benefits, stock management, and conservation methods. Morocco's approach of this corner sector of its economy highlight the efforts that have built over time a comprehensive strategy, Haliotis, for instance, emphasizing from research to practice the need for modernizing the sector, relying on a network of institutions, laws, and programs to combine industrialization for exports with the small-scale fisheries and increase the aquaculture products, including hatchery, to improve food security and nutrition, while aiming ultimately to balance economic growth with environmental conservation in alignment with global sustainable goals. I'm happy as well to stress the need that has been stressed by the report for regional cooperation, and particularly with Africa. The last example, Blue Belt Initiative, fosters since 2023 sustainable fisheries practices by establishing integrated coastal monitoring systems. This initiative also promotes a low carbon economy within the fisheries sector, enhancing climate resilience in coastal areas. As everybody knows, it is central in the last initiative, the Atlantic Initiative, which was launched by Morocco and which will hopefully profit to the Sahel landlocked area as well. And of course, the panel's report also shows the need for increased investment and innovations, data and experiences that Morocco is sharing largely with the African countries. Mozambique has reduced illegal fishing practices due to the development and implementation of problem-specific strategies and frameworks in the country, such as the strategy for monitoring, control, and surveillance. Sorry for being so concise, but we have no time to go in depth in details. But I think it is important as well to note that first, other already existing regional and national policies are still vital in advancing the continent's fisheries and aquaculture, such as the well-known Africa Blue Economy Strategy, the policy framework.
Can the IT team please check if Her Excellency is still online? We might have just lost her connection.
I think we lost her. I don't see her here. But give a minute for her to try to rejoin.
Sure. So for just in case she's not aware that she's been logged out, can the IT team reach out to her separately? Thank you very much.
Yes.
And just when she was getting to the meat of the matter, I was thoroughly enjoying the overview and her perspectives of the report. While we wait, I would like to inform all our distinguished guests that you have received, for those who registered for this meeting, you've received via email links to the report in your email. And for those who haven't received, or if you wish to view or read the report, it's now online on the website of the Malabo Montpellier panel. That's www.mamopanel.org. You will find all the resources there, and it's very rich information that we hope will prove useful to you in your respective areas of professional capacity. Any word from the IT team?
I just informed her that we lost her.
Okay.
I hope she can rejoin.
Okay.
In the meantime, I can also add that we will be regularly sharing the link to the report in the chat. So everyone on the can click the link to visit the website and read
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Buktaki. Ladies and gentlemen, you will also find a link to the website and the report in the chat. And so feel free to peruse that as we prepare to wrap up this session and then move into the next session, which will be thematic fireside chats. I think we can give Her Excellency a couple more minutes.
Dr. Araba,
Yes.
the ambassador is scheduled to provide remarks at the end of the forum as well.
So I think we can, okay. So in that case, what we'll do is we'll move the rest of her remarks.
I see her. She's back.
Is she back?
Yeah, I see her.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Your Excellency, if you can hear me, we invite you to wonderful. Yes, you can speak. I think you are unmuted already.
Okay, she's connecting her audio.
My God.
Okay, we are back.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but I don't know what's happening. You know, this technology is just a nightmare.
These things happen.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, but you know, this happens regularly with me because I'm traveling so much. It's always difficult to do that when you're not in your own home. So where did we stop, please? Where can I start? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. Please carry on.
Where did I stop? From the beginning?
Mr. No, it was Mr. Moderator. I think
Yes.
were you talking about the partnership with the Sahel, I think?
Yes, so did we go through the examples of the case studies or not? Just to know where to carry on.
Yes, you did. Your last few points, if I may step in, was to emphasize we need to also connect to the existing policies, the important Africa Blue economy strategy.
Okay.
And that's when it ended.
Okay, thank you very much. And the second point I wanted to emphasize, that was emphasized actually in the report, is that the voices of African leaders must as well be increased on the international platform, and especially in conferences like the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations Climate Change Conference. Although, unfortunately, the voices of everybody is not really heard in these COPs. We mustn't also forget to ensure inclusive growth in the sector to benefit small-scale fishers and fish farmers, as well as women and youth. We all play an essential role in promoting inclusivity. Affirmative policies, strong political will, and leadership are crucial to eliminate persistent discriminatory structures. I congratulate the panel and its research teams on another crucial policy report, and wish us all interesting deliberations today. Thank you very much, and I'm so sorry for this incident. And I hope that you have heard that I have been stressing the need for centrally considered research, and thank Professor Van Braun and Dr. Michael Lucy to have insisted on this point, because these are really central for the future and for the way ahead. We need really to take ownership of this research and do our best to implement science-based advancement. And thank you very much again for this rich report.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Dr. Asia Ben Salah Alawi, Ambassador at Large to the Kingdom of King of Morocco and co-chair of the Malabo Montpellier Forum. Thank you very much for the insightful reflections of the report. We'll now like to move on to the thematic fireside chat. And this will be hosted by my dear sister, Ms. Nachilala Kombo, who will moderate this fireside chat, focusing on research and development, sustainable practices, opportunities in the value chain and policy environment. Nachilala, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, my brother, Dr. Araba, for really carrying the conversation so eloquently and efficiently today. Let me start by writing on the protocols already observed before this fireside chat. And I'm deeply honored to have the opportunity to moderate this part that has leaders and experts who are actually at the forefront of managing our fisheries and aquaculture sectors across the continent. I think we've heard from different speakers how much promise and opportunity the sector offers, but also how much we have challenges. I think the good news in the report is that there are some good examples of what is being done to address the challenges as well as unlock the opportunities. So to further discuss the solutions advanced in the report, I would like to introduce the speakers for this session. The first speaker is Dr. Winnie Kalubo, who is the Director, National Fisheries Resources Research Institute from Uganda. She'll share her insights on the role of research and development in catalyzing the sector, but as well as addressing some of the challenges it faces. The second speaker is Dr. Edward Rukunya, who's Director of Fisheries Management and Development, Lake Victoria Fisheries Organization, the East African communities. Again, the report highlights the transboundary nature also of the fisheries sector, so his insights will be very important. The third speaker is Mr. Gausu Gwaye, who is the president of the African Confederation of Artisanal Fishing Organizations, to share his insights. Ambassador just flagged the importance of having an inclusive blue economy and inclusive growth that also looks at the needs and the challenges of artisanal and small-scale fishermen and women. The fourth speaker is Mr. Abdeluhad Benabiu, who's the Executive Secretary, Atlas FCO, at the Ministerial Conference on Fisheries Cooperation amongst Africates. He is going to share insights around enabling environment. Lastly, but not the least, is Dr. Huhan Ahmed Mohamed Elamin Salih, who's the director at the African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources. Perhaps we'll start our discussion, and I think of this other speakers who have a chance to go twice. We'll start with Dr. Winnie Nkalubo. We've heard from the report on the impact that research and development efforts have made in several countries that have been studied. Can you help us by highlighting a few more examples of specific research and interventions that have been successfully implemented in Uganda, research and development in fisheries, but also related to the fishery sector in general?
Thank you very much. I hope I can be heard. Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I, first of all, want to stand on the existing protocol and appreciate the invitation extended to me to join this high-level dialogue that is facilitating dialogue and exchange of information. So I think you did ask me to share some examples that we have done in Uganda. And I would want to cite that I work with the Fisheries Research Institute in Uganda, and the research that we have generated has informed the fisheries and aquaculture sectors variously. A key example to note is we have generated information on the numbers to guide the fishing effort in our lakes, Lake Victoria. And this information is being currently used to guide the licensing. So guiding on the number of boats, the number of gears that can be used, and what they should be fishing. And this has been done on Lake Victoria, on the Ugandan side of Lake Victoria. That is one example that I can give. And as far as other aspects of research that we have conducted, we have also guided on the tools that can be used to inform management. We have developed digital tools. For example, we have an electronic catch assessment tool that is currently aiding to collect data, fisheries catches data. And it was piloted on Lake Albert in Uganda, and it involved stakeholder participation, but also it was useful in the way that we know that sometimes collecting research data is very expensive, and in itself, it's a mobile-based application tool. And we were able to see that when we use it, you can actually reduce the costs of collecting information. I want to stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Winnie. I will come back to you. I would like to pivot and go to Mr. Abdeliohad Benabiou to discuss the enabling environment. Mr. Benabiou, could you just share with the participants some of the top policy and governance challenges the country's fisheries sector development are facing, the common challenges, and what specific measures could be prioritized to enhance the conservation, the sustainable use, as well as perhaps the commercialization of the fisheries sector on the continent of Africa. You're welcome also to touch on some of the research solutions that are needed to support a stronger enabling environment.
Hi, Nashilala. I don't see him here.
But, Mr. Benabiou, is it in?
No, I don't see
okay.
him. But we
That's
have
fine.
We have Mr. Edward is still on his way, but we have Mr. Gausu Gay here, and we have Dr. Huyab Ahmed from AU IBAR already.
Okay, so perhaps I could ask the same question to Dr. Ahmed Mohamed Elamin Salih from the African Union Inter-African Bureau for African Resources, to just highlight a bit further the major challenges with the policy environment around fisheries and aquaculture in Africa, and what measures and success story does it feel could be amplified or perhaps could be replicated by other countries or other regions?
Thank you so much for the question. Actually, for the policy areas in AU IBAR, our interventions with the countries and the regional economic communities is majorly guided by the PFRS, the Policy Framework and Reform Strategy for Fisheries and Aquaculture in Africa. And this strategy has identified 7 major areas of challenges that suffered by the countries in the continent. And to address those issues, AU IBAR has mobilized resources through different projects, and through these projects, we are supporting the regional economic communities and member states to overcome these challenges. So first of all, we have the challenge of having a sustainable resource use in the continent so that we can overcome the overexploitation of the fisheries stocks. For that, and from the policy area, AU IBAR has supported the policy development and strengthening it in different member states, such as South Sudan, Congo, DR, Madagascar, Lesotho, Zambia, Central Africa, Zimbabwe, and Burkina Faso. We have also supported strengthening the regional policies, as we have done for IAC and CUMESA, and also for UMA. One of the biggest challenges in the continent is the illegal, unregulated, and reported fishing in African territorial waters. And here, one of the good stories that AU-IBAR has done in partnership with the different regional fisheries bodies and our African Union Centers of Excellence as well. We have provided capacity building for the 5 regions in Africa, involving representatives not only from fisheries, but also judiciary and Navy in all the 55 African Union member states, to strengthen their capacities for monitoring, control, and surveillance systems. And I think we have a lot of deficiency in this area, and we need to strengthen the capacities for the AMCS. An advocacy note was also created to create the awareness on the economic, social, environment impact of the IUU fishing in Africa. And as I said in the success story, we have collaborated with the Fisheries Committee for the West Central Gulf of Guinea, the 6 member states, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Nigeria, Ghana, and Togo, on the MCS to combat the IUU and to protect the aquatic biodiversity and environmental. So AU-IBAR further through its project provided communication and navigation equipment. And we believe this training has resulted in the paradigm shift in comprehensive and integrated governance of aquatic ecosystem in the West Africa region. Same support now is undergoing with the SADC region, and AU-IBAR also collaborated with CORIP to develop capacity for Central African coastal states, Gabon, DRC, Congo, Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, Angola, and Sao Tome and Principe. So besides the strengthening the training, delivering the training and strengthening the capacities, having national strategies and policies aligned to the continental and international ones, this is one of the challenges, and for that we are working on that. The office has supported the blue economy development in the AU member states and the regions through support from the Kingdom of Norway. We have supported about 7 countries or more: Liberia, Lesotho, DRC, Madagascar, Nigeria, Botswana, and Burkina Faso, and Libya, to do their national blue economy. Beside the regional blue economy strategies for COMESA and UMA. Under the challenge of enhancing and strengthening the voice of the small-scale fisheries and to make sure that their sector is well developed, IBAR has contributed to the creation of the enabling policy environment and increase the sustainable contribution of the small-scale fisheries to food security and livelihoods. So the 10-year action plan in small-scale fisheries and support to implementation endorsed by the AU member states, and the utilization to establish continental platform for the civil societies, training on content organized for the civil societies, for women and youth. And one of the success stories is in promoting the inclusive governance. AU-IBAR and FAO established the Pan-African network of nationally registered civil societies in fisheries and aquaculture, and the first summit has been supported also in Tanzania. So I'll stop here until the next opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much. Before we move on to Mr. Guyae, I just have one more question. We heard from the case study of Mozambique that technology has played a very big role in terms of trying to deal with IUU in the country, trying to strengthen issues around surveillance, compliance, and perhaps the governance of the fisheries sector. Through the AU-IBAR, can you paint a picture in terms of how much technology has been taken up and also the opportunities for more technology uptake when managing coastal, inland, and also transboundary shared fisheries resources?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. As I have mentioned in my highlights that I have just shared, that we are supporting the regional fisheries bodies, the regional bodies, the RECs, and also the member states with the monitoring, control, and surveillance equipment for navigation and to support their combat against the IUU as well. More than that, AUI-BAR has established what we call it AFADATA, the African Fisheries and Aquaculture Database. It's a repository that based in AUI-BAR, and it has been piloted for 7 countries to ensure that they are able to retrieve and to collect and to analyze the data to be shared in the server at AUI-BAR, and this will be, of course, shared for the rest of the member states in Africa. Because we believe without data, we cannot support decision-making for good governance for fisheries and aquaculture. And this is complementing the policies that we are implementing to use efficient data collection and analysis for decision-making.
Thank you so very much. We're just going to shift to Mr. Kausu Guye, who's the president of African Confederation of Artisanal Fishing Organization on the continent. Sir, artisanal fishermen and women are very important in terms of your contribution to the food security and the food system. Can you share with us any initiatives or maybe policy developments that have supported, addressed some of the challenges that you face? I would also maybe want to hear you highlight 1 or 2 key challenges that you face as artisanal fishers, and maybe also comment on the impact that the initiatives by AUI-BAR are having on your membership in terms of addressing or unlocking the opportunities in the sector. Over to you.
Merci, madame. Donc, bonjour à tout le monde. Merci de nous avoir donné l'opportunité de participer à ce panel. Alors, donc, à notre avis, sur les 2 points que vous avez dit, le premier point, à notre avis, il faut qu'il y ait nécessairement une initiative pour renforcer l'autonomie des pêcheurs. Dans ce cadre, il faudra, à notre avis, promouvoir la cogestion. La cogestion, surtout en développant la surveillance participative pour une meilleure implication des pêcheurs artisans pour lutter efficacement contre la pêche INN. Et dans ce cadre, je peux citer, on peut même utiliser, par exemple, la géolocalisation. Alors, impliquer les pêcheurs artisans dans la gestion des ressources maritimes pour renforcer leurs responsabilités et assurer une exploitation durable, cela nécessite des formations sur l'importance des quotas, des périodes de repos biologique et des techniques de pêche durable. L'utilisation des cadres transparents où les pêcheurs participent activement aux prises de décision aux côtés des autorités. Renforcer la dynamique organisationnelle, favoriser la création et la structuration de coopératives ou d'organisations professionnelles de pêcheurs. Les coopératives permettent un meilleur accès au financement, à l'information et à la négociation des prix des produits halieutiques. Équipements et infrastructures adaptés. Construire ou moderniser des infrastructures de débarquement, de transformation et de conservation des produits améliorés, tels que par exemple les fours améliorés et même des chambres de conservation, et pourquoi pas des chambres de conservation en solaire, par exemple. Alors, avec des caisses isothermes également. Pour les équipements, comme j'ai dit, promouvoir un commerce intrarégional, favoriser les échanges entre pays africains pour réduire la dépendance aux exportations vers les marchés internationaux. Mettre en place des corridors commerciaux régionaux pour faciliter le transport et réduire les coûts logistiques. Renforcer les infrastructures de transport maritime et terrestre pour améliorer la distribution. À mon avis, ça c'est la première question. Maintenant, pour les programmes réussis axés sur les petits pêcheurs, j'ai tantôt parlé de formation sur la sécurité et les bonnes pratiques. Par exemple, on a eu dans 3 pays à former des capitaines de pirogues, Sénégal, Gambie, Côte d'Ivoire, sur la sécurité, la réglementation et les bonnes pratiques. L'impact, réduction des impacts en mer, respect accru des réglementations et adoption de techniques durables. Valorisation des produits halieutiques. On a fait des formations pour les femmes au Bénin et au Togo. Formation des femmes de transformation sur la conservation, la transformation et la valorisation des produits halieutiques. L'impact, c'est augmentation des revenus et réduction des pertes post-capture, conservation et biodiversité. Au Sénégal, dans un village des îles du Saloum, à Nemaba, on a appuyé les femmes pour la conservation de la mangrove et la cueillette des huîtres. Son impact, c'est protection des écosystèmes locaux tout en générant des revenus durables. Mobilisation des communautés. Dans le cadre de l'année internationale de la pêche et de l'aquaculture artisanale en 2022, nous avons élaboré ce qu'on appelle l'appel à l'action pour la pêche artisanale, qui a défini 5 priorités pour améliorer les moyens de subsistance, garantir d'urgence un accès préférentiel et co-gérer 100% les zones côtières, garantir la participation des femmes et soutenir leur rôle dans l'innovation, protéger la pêche artisanale des secteurs concurrents de l'économie bleue, faire preuve de transparence et de responsabilité dans la gestion de la pêche et construire des communautés résilientes pour faire face au changement climatique et offrir des perspectives à la jeunesse. Voilà les 2 points sur lesquels j'ai quelques réflexions.
Merci. Merci, can you hear me? Hello?
Oui.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Je vous entends. Oui, je vous entends très bien.
All right, thank you so very much. I think I had a bit of a break with my internet. Thank you, Mr. Gay, for your insights. Really very clear and on point in terms of your own efforts, but also what the artisanal fishers do need. The last contribution is going to come from Dr. Edward Rukunya, who's the Director of Fisheries Management and Development, Lake Victoria. As we know, Lake Victoria is a shared water bodies, and therefore implementation or amplification of sustainable management practices is very key. So we'd like to hear from the good doctor what strategies and interventions have been promoted regionally to promote sustainability of both the fisheries and aquaculture sectors. The second part of the question is, for aquaculture, how are you promoting perhaps some common standards or common approaches between the countries that share Lake Victoria to support the development of the aquaculture sector? Over to you.
Yes, Nashilala, Dr. Edward is not yet online. He's still on the way. Maybe we can move on up for now.
Okay, so yeah, I would like to go back then to Dr. Winnie. Dr. Winnie, you've heard the issues that artisanal fishers do face in particular. Where do you see the low-hanging fruits in terms of what African countries should prioritize to increase their capacity to deliver better or stronger food security and economic development opportunities while not harming the environment? How can we mobilize small-scale farmers? What support do they need, including from the research perspective, to help increase their impact?
Okay, thank you. I hope I can be heard. I have a challenge with the microphones. There is something in the microphone.
Yeah.
Makes it difficult to hear you very well. But I think from the research perspective on our end, what I think the earlier speakers talked about issues to do with post-harvest losses. And because we see that in itself, this gets compounded with lower produce volumes, issues of quality, issues of not getting enough out of this. And I see for us that are in research, that would be one thing that we really need to address very well. We keep talking about 30 to 40% losses in post-harvest. And we see that this is a segment that still has majority of the women and the youth in there. So in terms of maximizing on food security and reducing on these losses, I think for me, that is the first thing that I would, see take forward to reduce post-harvest losses, both in the fisheries and aquaculture value chains. I also see, I think we talked a lot about illegal, unregulated, and unreported fisheries and its various impacts that it has. As research, we still should be looking at how we can provide data. I think I missed to talk about some of the challenges, and I think it came up even in the earlier discussions. The issue of having data and having accurate data, having regular data, timely data. And for aspects of handling illegal, unregulated, and unreported fisheries and how this feeds into food for the future and securing populations and economic development and so on and so forth. I see, especially for us as research, we should prioritize this in terms of assessing what is there, how do we understand the ecosystem interactions, but also providing information that would be seen to manage the fisheries sustainably so that we can combat the issue of overfishing or illegal fishing and ultimately see that our stocks are recovering. In as far as, if I move a bit to aquaculture, yes, aquaculture is really moving to the forefront, especially when we see that sometimes there are declines in the capture fisheries, and aquaculture is seen as a solution to provide food. So, but aquaculture is still grappling with issues of feed. And I see that in research, we still need to look at how do we improve the feed efficiency. There are aspects of quality. There are aspects of why should we be seen to have fish as an ingredient in fish feed, for example. And so for this, there is still need to look into alternative sources of protein sources, especially for feed and other sources, but also looking at the seed, because that is also another problem. If we don't address the aspects of feed and seed in terms of looking at the genetics, having breeding programs that should ably sustain production in aquaculture, I see that for us as research, we still need to prioritize this so that we can have maximum impact on food security. Of course, not forgetting the cross-cutting issue of climate change and coming up with what nowadays is known as climate-smart technologies, climate-smart innovations, climate-smart management practices, because we are seeing changes in our environment. We see temperatures fluctuate, extreme weather conditions, and in a way, this does affect the sector. So coming up with climate change adaptations and how we can build resilience for our systems is something that I see moving forward. I beg to stop here for now. Thank you.
And thank you so very much for your really pointed recommendations or solutions. I will go back to Dr. Ahmed Mohamed Lamin Salih to just give us the final word in this segment of the fireside chat. I think we've heard from the report and also from some deeper perspectives from members of this channel, this fireside chat. What would you perhaps advise African heads of state to do to really drive the systemic change that's needed to basically protect and make more viable both our capture fisheries and our struggling aquaculture sectors? I think we've talked about, Dr. Winnie talked about the issue around nutrition and feed that goes into the system. So if you had to get an end-to-end picture, what would be the key strategies that African countries need to adopt collectively, right, to ensure that they're able to address the enabling conditions, provide the standards, provides the infrastructure, has perhaps the storage and also the marketing that is needed to move this sector even 2 steps up and contribute more to global trade in fisheries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. And yeah, you're right. The heads of state have already approved the different policies and guidelines and frameworks that has been produced through the AUI bar with the different member states and regional economic communities. But we still need to do more because endorsing and adopting the strategies is not enough. We need to implement them. We need also to harmonize the regional and international standards to facilitate equitable access to the market and trade, especially within Africa, so that we make use of the African continental free trade area. Building the capacities of women and youth and artisanal communities is one of the issues that we need to focus so that we establish and operate sustainable climate-smart fisheries and aquaculture businesses and equitably engage in the regional trade. I think the way to do sustainable work across the fisheries and aquaculture value chains is to involve more private sector, because not only private sector, but thinking of how to link our small-scale producers to this private sector and to the resilient and sustainable fisheries value chains through the public-private partnerships. And I will add the 4P for the producers so that we make sure that we have the coordination, we have the integration, we have the sustainability and the business-oriented mind. We need to enhance also through the AU member states, the public awareness on the value of the fisheries and aquaculture sectors and the big opportunities that we have in the blue economy in Africa. We need to promote, and this I think the senior officials have a lot of things to do in. We need to promote and support the full participations of Africa's fisheries and aquaculture multiple stakeholders in the international and regional platforms, so the Africa voice will be heard. Through the CADA process, the fisheries and aquaculture multiple stakeholders were engaged, and now we have the plan. We need the head of states to put this value chain building as priorities in their national budget, in their implementation, in their investment plans, so that we make sure sustainable fisheries and aquaculture in Africa will be nourished. I will also recommend and ask for strengthening fisheries and aquaculture products in one-stop border posts in various regions of the continent. And we recommend that we need to enhance the partnership to implement the policy framework and reform strategy for the fisheries and aquaculture in Africa in all the member states and specialized regional, and to do more efforts in terms of data management so that we can implement the policy through, let me say, timely data coming via our databases. And I will stop here, but the main issue, we need to think all these endorsed strategies and frameworks and guidelines that reduced as technical backstopping to our EU member states. It is there, and we need the member states to take it seriously and to implement them and to collaborate under the regional economic communities, because fisheries are transboundary resources. You cannot put them in just one coast. So we need to do this collaboration and partnership with the different neighboring countries and also organizations. Thank you.
Well, thank you so very much. I want to take this opportunity to extend my sincere thanks to the whole panel for really sharing pointed insights on some of the major challenges that are facing the fisheries and aquaculture sector, but also for pointing out how we unlock the opportunities. How do we move from here to really strengthen not only the environmental case for protecting our fisheries, but also there's a strong business case around our fishery sector. And I think I would agree with the good doctor that our people need to understand the business opportunity, the value that the fishery sectors does offer, so that the necessary infrastructure, necessary data, the necessary training and technology is deployed behind that. And our governments, and I'm happy that we have a number of ministers that have joined us. We commend you for the work you've already started, but what we're saying as a panel, as a forum, is that we want to see more. We want to see more if we're going to bring the illegal, unregulated, and unreported fisheries under control, for example. We need to do more if we're going to create economic opportunities for our people. We need to do more if we're going to restore some of the extinct fisheries resource that needs concerted effort. At this point, I'm just going to hand over the floor back to our main moderator, Dr. Debisi Araba, to take us through to the next session. Thank you so very much again for your inputs.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kombo, my dear sister and a distinguished member of the Malabo Montpellier panel, for moderating thematic fireside chat. This brings us to the end of the second part of this forum. And as we quickly shift gears to the third part, I would like to invite the chair of this session and moderator of the Ministerial Roundtable session, my big brother, His Excellency Professor Ambassador, well, I don't even know which comes first now. Is it Ambassador or Professor? His Excellency Professor Mamadou Ka, Permanent Representative of the Gambia to the United Nations Office in Geneva, and of course, a member of the Malabo Montpellier panel. Professor Ka, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Debisi, and a very good morning from Geneva here in Switzerland. Excellencies, colleagues, and distinguished participants, welcome. Once again, many thanks with appreciation to our co-chairs for their leadership, as well as all our previous speakers and panelists for their very valuable insights. I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this moderated roundtable discussion as part of the Malabo Montpellier panel's presentation of its groundbreaking report, Fish-Friendly Policy Innovations for Sustainable Fisheries and Aquaculture in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, this segment provides a unique opportunity to engage directly with our senior country representatives and ministers who has been at the forefront of implementing transformative policies to address the challenges and opportunities within Africa's fisheries and aquaculture sectors. As we delve into the findings and recommendations of this very insightful report, we will explore how innovative policies can drive sustainability, enhance food security, and support livelihoods across our continent. Our esteemed representatives on this segment will share their insights on the successes, lessons learned, and the way forward on aligning national strategies with the broader goals of sustainable development. Following their remarks, we will open the floor for the remaining participants on the panel to answer certain questions. So I'll have some exchanges with them. Without further ado, I will call upon three distinguished panelists on this opening, Ms. Marianne Pakpa, the Chief Director, Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, the Republic of Ghana, as well as Honorable Dr. Anxious Jongwe Masuka, the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, the Republic of Zimbabwe, and Honorable Dr. Mark Siobehero Bagabi, the Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources for the Republic of Rwanda, as our opening speakers. Each will have 10 minutes intervention before we get to the general questions. Now I call upon Ms. Marianne Pakpa, the Chief Director, Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture. Ma'am, you can take the floor now.
My name is Hayford, speaking on behalf of Madam Maria, my Chief Director.
Can you please adjust your camera a little bit so that we can see you?
Hello, Prof.
Yes, you can proceed.
This is Lai from Academia 2063. So while I sent you a couple of messages while waiting for the representative from Ghana to join, we have speakers from Mozambique, from Rwanda. The Rwandan minister is here. The representative from Mozambique has a pressing engagement, so they need to speak as soon as possible. And then we have a representative for the minister from Zimbabwe. So we are going to spotlight them so that you can see them, you can see who is there and proceed.
Okay, so you can proceed now, Your Excellency.
Yes. Okay. Can I come? Oh, okay, the Excellency. Okay, sorry.
Dr. Mark, Honorable Dr. Mark, you may take the floor.
Thank you. First of all, let me thank Academia 2063 and the co-organizers of this high-level forum on fisheries and aquaculture. I think this is one of the online meetings which I have attended from the beginning to the end because of its significance in the socio-economic development of our countries, and more particularly for Rwanda, where we are fighting malnutrition and health-related issues, and we see this sector as a very relevant driver in resolving those issues of malnutrition, health, and empowering inclusive communities to improve their lives. So let me first tell you that for those who don't know Rwanda, Rwanda has enormous water resources, although we are landlocked, but about 80% of our total surface area is actually covered by water, and therefore has potential for fisheries and aquaculture development. The government has taken measures to promote efficient capture, fisheries management in water resources. These include lakes, rivers, and reservoirs. So in order to unlock the potential of fisheries in a sustainable manner, the government has invested in the following. The government has put in place policies and regulations, fisheries management. Also, we have put in place strategies for enforcement of these policies in partnership with government institutions, fishing communities, marine organs, and some of these policies are used for monitoring, control, and surveillance of major bodies in order to control illegal and unreported and unregulated fishing activities. Excuse me. Also, we enforce biological breaks for major water bodies. These we are talking of, for those who don't know Rwanda, we are talking of particularly Lake Kivu between Rwanda and DRC. And then you have a very big inland lake, Lake Muhazi, and some other lakes. So these breaks are usually for 2 to 3 months to allow fishing activities. So the fishing activities stop to allow fish stocks to recover. Also, we try to protect the lives of fishing communities, which include using adapted fishing boats, life jackets, and insurance for all fishing crews. So these measures, before they were adopted, would lose people drowning these deep lakes. For example, Lake Kivu is in the Rift Valley, and it's a deep lake, more than half a kilometer deep. We also we have also established infrastructure to facilitate fish handling and variation. These include drying racks, ice making plants to ensure the quality of fishery products. So that's in terms of the strategy for fisheries. Then when it comes to aquaculture, aquaculture is mainly driven actually by private sector. So we see private sector as key in the aquaculture industry growth. So Lake Kivu, which I've just mentioned, is suited for aquaculture development in floating cages due to its depth of more than 450 meters, as I've said, as well as other optimum physiochemical parameters. The temperature for the water is around 24 degrees centigrade. So it's very conducive for this kind of fish farming. Very good oxygen, dissolved oxygen levels. So to ensure aquaculture production, is done in a sustainable manner, the government has invested in the following: the development of a national aquaculture strategy. So we have a strategy in place which is for 2023 to 2035. So in a way, it's aligned to a number of regional and Africa strategies. For example, CADAP, which we approved a few weeks ago, last month, in Uganda, and also with our strategic plan for agricultural transformation 5, which was approved in December 6th last year. Also, we provide there are provisions for offering fish fishing concessions on public water bodies to investors in aquaculture. This is up to 15 years renewable. So there are a number of incentives, therefore, to encourage the private sector involvement in aquaculture farming. We also have master plans for aquaculture in place, particularly for these big water bodies that I have mentioned. And we have established SOPs, standard operating procedures and standards to support certification of fish hatcheries in order to ensure the production of quality fingerlings. So we have right now 6 certified hatcheries. Also, we provide tax exemptions on imported aquaculture inputs, including cold trucks for fish transportation. But we have challenges. We have challenges, but also every challenge in Rwanda, we believe it provides opportunities as well. The key challenges in fisheries, if I begin with the fisheries, is illegal fishing. Patrolling those expansive water bodies can be challenging. Obviously, every time you have a challenge, you think of recourse to enforcement of regulations which are in place. But through this discourse this morning, this afternoon, I think there are lessons I've learned that actually we can borrow experience of some of those countries which are using technology, like Mozambique, which I've heard, and these I think could improve on our on curbing illegal fishing. But we also have, having said that, we provide the infrastructure. But also, we have this infrastructure is still limited, especially for value addition. So for us, as I've said, this opens. It's an opportunity for those who want to invest in this sector, providing this kind of infrastructure. Cold chain logistics and so on. Then also we have limited research on fish stock for sustainable fisheries. Skills limited, but we've learned that actually we can speed up through experience sharing and for those countries that you've mentioned this report. I think that's what I picked for me, that we can learn from such countries that have moved this industry to where it is today. Also, data collection, we still have to improve it. We use FAO data collection system, which we believe is good, but we have to improve on that. So when it comes to aquaculture, there are challenges, but they're not as big as in fisheries, simply because investors in aquaculture are usually professionals, but it's not free from issues. High cost of feeds and fingerlings is still a challenge for Rwanda. The high cost. It's not only in aquaculture and fisheries industry, but it is feeds, these inputs that you need to get a product. They are challenged across the board. But we still need to invest in feeds manufacturing and hatcheries, and therefore we call upon investors to come and invest in these areas. As I've said, we provide incentives and tax exemptions for those who want to invest in this industry. Also, we have limited skills. Skills are limited. I don't want to take so long, but I will tell you that in the 1990s and 2000, the industry was thriving, but at some point, I don't know what actually happened. I'll have to do a research and find out what happened. But the industry is coming up with the support of the private sector, taking interest in it. But with the skills, private sector, private-public partnership, I see it being a way to fast track providing the technical know-how that's needed. Also, the limited knowledge in fish health and breeding. This is where we have to work on. It's a challenge. So therefore, we need really to partner with those countries and academic institutions that are advanced in this field to be able to improve on fish health, fish diseases, control, and fish breeding. So I would therefore like to recognize the role of our partners in aquaculture, particularly in value addition and development, and also in terms of post-harvest management. I would like to recognize the role of academicians and researchers. I saw a number of them from universities and research institutions. So you will see me very soon engaging you for experience sharing and capacity building. So I thank you, and I'll be ready for questions to this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister from Rwanda, for your very valuable insights. Now I will give the mic to our dear sister, Ms. Maria Ascensao Ribeiro Pinto from the Ministry for the Sea, Inland Waters and Fisheries of the Republic of Mozambique. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Can you hear me? Good
Yes,
afternoon.
we can. Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much for the organizers, and also express my gratitude to having this opportunity to share our lessons, our point of views about fisheries and aquaculture. We share very common issues, and we have been talking since the meeting started. For Mozambique, I would like to stress two topics. One of them is about the successfully lessons taken, steps taken to successfully ensure effective fisheries management. And another one, what we need to do to improve resource management to ensure sustainable growth in the sector. I have around 5 minutes. Unfortunately, I have to join another meeting, but I'm still in time. I'm very lucky. Say that in fisheries, marine fisheries, we have about 400,000 fishermen along the coast. We have a very long coast, so we have a challenge to make these people having opportunity to have job, to ensure their households with fishing. So the challenge that we have is to provide equipment, suitable equipment, not the complicated ones, but cheap and suitable technically to them to go inshore and offshore. We had very, very, very good lessons in terms of growth, but we still have a huge, a long way to go, because we face so many problems concerns. And the experience in Mozambique to progress was that we adopted the ecosystem management plans, and all this was with support was supported by FAO, technical support by FAO. We had trainings in several cases, several steps. So it was very, very determinant to Mozambican progress in fisheries management. And another issue also, as a lesson, we saw that the human resources are very important to ensure the continuity of these processes. Not only the training, training them, but also keeping them doing several specific tasks for several time and be consistent. So with consistency, we were able to identify some weaknesses and then be able to improve. And also the complementarity, I'm talking about the synergy. The state is not doing things alone. We had very, very special support with some NGOs interested and committed with fisheries management in our country, Mozambique. So those are elements, the key elements that I can share for now, although we have some other details, but for now, those are very important that I would like to stress. Another element that I can add in this experience is that with all these processes, we had a huge support of the higher level, the governmental level, because we were taking our proposals and explaining the politicians. They were understanding and supporting us, not only in terms of decision, but also in terms of planning, the budgeting in the state budget planning. So those are experience that I can share. And talking about aquaculture, we feel that we are progressing very well, but we still have huge challenges also. In this moment, although we have a good reference of our production in aquaculture, we are expecting to look to massification of aquaculture in terms of small scale aquaculture, because it's where we see that we have a huge potential to increase the production, and also because it will be an opportunity to give jobs to the communities, because we have a huge compromise to create jobs and condition for family household. Also, beside this massification, the techniques, the extension, expansion, transfer of technologies to manage the ponds and several ways to doing aquaculture, it's within the priority of Mozambique in order to improve the production of aquaculture. And because we have the marine fisheries with some problems in terms of overfishing of some stocks, aquaculture comes as an opportunity, as an alternative for the coastal communities, and not only coastal along the coast, but also inland or territorial alternative to give people opportunity to increase productions for their commercialization, improve the well-being of the people in Mozambique. Other experience also, I would like to mention the MCS experience. We had opportunity to expend a lot of time and the effort investing in the production of policies at the higher level and the medium and even the tools for practical processes. We had a very good experience in involving communities through the organizations that we call fisheries community councils. We call CCPs in Mozambique. They had a very huge role in helping to follow the fishing processes in, for instance, to inform us about the level of catches, the situation of IUU. Sometimes they inform us about the places where the fishing is not, the bad practices are taken. So all these cooperation links were very important for our MCS to be successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam. Thank you for your insights. And now I will quickly move to Zimbabwe. Honorable Dr. Anxious Nyongwe Musuka. If you can share your opening remarks before we come to the questions, please. And if you can do it in 5 minutes so that we can get through the names.
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. So for Zimbabwe, I would like to just indicate that we are quite committed in the promotion of sustainable fisheries and the aquaculture practices. And being a landlocked country with an estimated number of 10,700 dams, the fishing sector is actually based on our major dams, as well as the major lakes and the reservoirs. So fish production in Zimbabwe is actually anchored on the production from water, fresh water capture fisheries and aquaculture. And the predominant commercial production is from Lake Kariba. Also, capture fisheries comprises tilapia and commercial carpenter fishing and artisanal fisheries, where we are targeting also breams and other species. Zimbabwe is a small specialized trout farming industry confined to the eastern highlands. And in terms of crocodile farming, in Zimbabwe, crocodile farming is actually dominated by 8 large-scale commercial producers, and the crocodile farming is primarily for the skin export market, with Europe taking the largest share. So efforts to explore Asia markets have also commenced for both the skins and the crocodile meat. But generally, Zimbabwe's fishery sector is brimming with potential, with current fish production at approximately 32,000 metric tons annually, against a national demand of 60,000 metric tons. There is a significant room for growth. Closing this gap will bring us closer to achieving a self-sustaining economy and the country's aspirations of Vision 2030. So while the fisheries and aquaculture sector is still in its infancy stages in the country, government's programs have sparked exponential growth and development in the sector over the past 3 years. And surely collaboration with the private sector has led to a 25% increase in fish ponds and tanks, where 21% are women-owned, and a significant rise in the annual tonnage production, reaching 31,161 metric tons in 2024. So we see the trend increasing in terms of the numbers, where over the last 2 years, 67 dams have been stocked with a total of 535,000 fingerlings. And also notable is the increase in the harvest, which has actually reached up to 85.6 kgs per day since stocking. A total of fish ponds also 4,163 fish ponds have been stocked from 2022 to date, with the 32,453,201 fingerlings that have attracted a total of 4,490 young participants across the country in 2024 alone. So the target is to stock fish in all the 35,000 villages, rural villages, which are in Zimbabwe, 9,600 school business units, and 4,800 youth business units that we are actually working on. So,
Dr. Musaka, if you can wrap up your opening remarks so that I can ask you 2 quick questions, please.
Okay, thank you so much. So briefly, I think those are that's the brief introductory remarks. Thank you so much, moderator.
Yes, a quick question is Zimbabwe has been commended for its effort in developing its aquaculture production with the private sector's involvement. What enabling environment and incentives have been implemented to support the establishment of aquaculture enterprises and private sector participation in the sector? And while you take note of that question, you may also share your thoughts on what are some of the policies and strategies that you've put in place to ensure sustainable fisheries and aquaculture in your water bodies.
Thank you very much. So the biggest move that we've taken is to collaborate with the private sector, as well as to collaborate with other organizations. And as government, we have realized that we should be able to make use of the available dams that we have, the 10,700 dams which we have. And we should also make use of the rural areas where we are developing the fish ponds. So the plan is we have to do 35,000 village business units in 35,000 villages. And at each village business unit, we are establishing 2 fish ponds, which means that's a target of about 140 million fingerlings, which we will have to add into those village business units, with the expectation to get 33,600 metric tons. So the village business units, the school business units, the youth business units that we are establishing, these have actually increased in terms of the number of fingerlings. So government is also collaborating with Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, to develop a technical cooperation program that strategically positions government hatcheries to improve access and reduce the cost of fingerlings. So we want to be producing our own fingerlings from the government side. We have identified 5 government breeding sites: Henderson, Makoholi, Matopos, Bobilupani, and Chipinge. And we'll be producing our fingerlings as government from these 5 sites, and then we'll be distributing to the various village business units in the 35,000 villages. So some of the strategies that we have come up with in order to be sustainable, the government of Zimbabwe has developed a fisheries and aquaculture development plan. And this plan is there to guide, to develop the sector and to increase in terms of transformation. Among the impediments to the rapid development of the fisheries and the crocodile sectors are obviously the multiplicity of government agencies regulating the sector, high license fees, absence of legislation, high feed costs, competition from cheap imports, markets, and so forth. But the proposed fisheries and aquaculture bill, which we are proposed, will address many of these challenges. And the government has implemented various initiatives aiming to address sector challenges, which include the scarcity of quality fingerlings, which has resulted in farmers using low quality fingerlings that impact their use and their profitability. Also, the lengthy distances farmers must travel to access essential inputs like feed and fingerlings, as well as the limited availability of technical expertise and extension services, which hinder farmers' ability to adopt best practices and improve their productivity. So the targeted interventions that we have come up with to address the systemic challenges facing our aquaculture sector have been employed in the last 2 years as mitigation strategies. So these initiatives include the Presidential Community Fisheries Scheme under the flagship program of Rural Development 8.0. So this program aims to promote fisheries and aquaculture development, food security, and rural economic growth with the key objectives, including achieving food and nutrition security, substituting imports, generating exports, creating employment, and increasing household incomes. So the programs involve restocking the dams, stocking the fish ponds, promoting community-based fish farming. And the scheme also includes other initiatives like targeting to promote fish farming in schools, to empower women, as well as other fisheries. And in recent years, we have seen a notable increase in the rise in fish farming activities, particularly among smallholder farmers. The centralization of fish breeding in northern Zimbabwe has also posed challenges for farmers in southern regions, contributing to lower production levels. So to combat these
Thank you,
challenges—
Dr. Musaka. Thank you so much. If you can just wrap up in a second.
Okay, so surely the government of Zimbabwe is currently developing some various strategies. I think we will be able to share this report so that we also know what we are doing. In conclusion, Zimbabwe is really committed to promoting sustainable fisheries and aquaculture practices. And we are on the notion that fish-friendly policy innovations are critical to achieving this goal. And we look forward to sharing our experiences and learning from others as we work together to promote sustainable fisheries and aquaculture in East Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Masuka, for your insight. Now we will go to Dr. Davis Makela of the Ministry in Kenya as Director of Blue Economy Development. Dr. Makela, you have the floor, please. And if you can just shorten your opening remarks to about 2 to 3 minutes so that I can get to the questions for you. Dr. Davis Makela, are you with us?
Yes, Prof. I'm with you.
Okay. Since we are running out of time, while you get ready, let me just give you the question so that as soon as you do your quick opening remarks, you can share your insights on our 2 questions. One is, how is Kenya addressing the challenges faced by small-scale fishers and fish farmers? And please share an example of a successful policy, institutional or programmatic intervention, and how it addressed a given challenge in the sector. And the second question is, what untapped opportunities exist in your country's aquaculture sectors, and what is needed to leverage them? If you can succinctly answer those 2 questions after your quick opening remarks, we'll appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Chair, Ambassador Professor. Yes, I'm here on behalf of my minister, the Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Rural Economy and Maritime Affairs. And therefore, Chair, you allow me to pass his regards to this forum. And I just want to quote what he asked me to pass to you as the Chair and the team. Cabinet Secretary assures this forum of the commitment of the government of the Republic of Kenya through the Minister of Mining, Rural Economy and Maritime Affairs of working closely with this forum and all the stakeholders and partners in effective dialogue, exchange of ideas, experiences, and best practices that promote policy innovations and their adoption. And Chair, as you have rightly said, I want to take the shortest time possible. In terms of Kenya's experience, because of the changes in the sector, both the fisheries and aquaculture, the Kenya government has taken a step and recently reviewed its fisheries policy that was in existence from the year 2008. And therefore, as we speak now, the Kenya government has a new fisheries policy that was endorsed by the government in the year 2023. And this policy is specifically recognizing the fisheries and aquaculture sector in the development of Kenya's Vision 2030. Besides that, I want to inform the participants that Kenya is in the process. Next week, it is expected to finalize its national blue economy strategy, and this strategy speaks to the African Union blue economy strategy. This one in recognition that fisheries and aquaculture is one of the critical subsectors within the blue economy to drive the economic prospect of Kenya. I just want also to mention that the government of Kenya is in the process to review and finalizing the national aquaculture policy, taking into consideration the regional, continental, and global changes taking place in the sector, especially in line with the climate change and other development goals. And just to mention that how important this sector is to the government of Kenya is that under the Vision 2030 that is implemented under the medium-term plans, in the fourth medium-term plan for 2023-2027, blue economy and fisheries is one of the priority areas to generate jobs and have incomes and revenue to the government. And therefore, that's what is the government doing. And last year, the government had to review the fisheries management and development regulations, including the aquaculture regulations, so that the sector is well regulated, taking into account the new emerging issues. And finally, just to mention in summary, is that the government has embarked on the process of having all the fish management units. These are the fisheries management units within the Kenyan space of the fisheries into cooperatives, so that these groups are able to access the financial resources available on the market. On the questions, Chair, as asked, first question is, what are their policies? I've mentioned in passing those policies and interventions that the government is doing. Besides the policies and the regulations and the legal instruments, the government has put in place institutions specifically to support the growth of fisheries and aquaculture. One of these institutions is the Kenya Fisheries Service, specifically to regulate the sector, and also has in place a fish levy trust fund. This fund is in the process of being operationalized so that it is able to give supplementary budget to the sector players instead of relying on the just government budgetary cycle. So that's one of the issues that institutional frameworks that the government of Kenya has put in place. And it has also in place a fish marketing authority, specifically to promote whatever is produced, be it wild or at aquaculture level, so that the products access the market at regional, and international levels. And examples of the programs that the government is implementing that have been successful is that currently the government is implementing the Kenya Marine Fisheries Socio-Economic Development Program, specifically along the Kenyan coast. And this one is specifically targeting the priority fisheries that can give a lot of income to the coastal communities and also provide employment opportunities. As the government is implementing that program, it is also modernizing the infrastructure along the coast, that's the landing sites, so that the fishing communities have a clean place where they can land their harvests. And also, this program is in the process of coming up with regulations that are not in place. For example, the monitoring, control, and surveillance regulations supporting that is part of governance. And those are the success stories that are coming from that program. In terms of the aquaculture, the government is also implementing the aquaculture business development program. This one is targeting the subsistence and small-scale aquaculture farmers to transit them into the commercial small-scale farmers. The target by next year is to move 35,000 farmers into the small-scale commercial status. And those are the two programs going on.
And if you can quickly wrap up by sharing with us what the untapped opportunities exist in Kenya in the aquaculture sector and what is needed to leverage them. Just quickly.
In terms of the opportunities in Kenya is that the climatic environment for Kenya allows a number of species of fish to be farmed. However, currently, the two major ones is Nile tilapia and catfish. So we have opportunities for the marine tilapia. We have opportunities for other species like the common carp, where investments are required. Again, when it comes to the aquaculture, we've realized that the feeds and the fingerling production is an area that provides the opportunity for investments. Bearing in mind that Kenya has a vast range of rural economy and fisheries resources. Submit, Chair.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your insights. Now I request our sister, Ms. Marianne Kipakpa, the Chief Director, Minister of Fisheries and Aquaculture for the Republic of Ghana, to take the floor for her opening remarks and also to share with us your perspective on these two questions. The first question is, over the years, your ministry, the Ministry of Aquaculture and Fisheries, has been actively involved in designing policies and strategies for sustainable fisheries in aquaculture, such as your Fisheries Act, the Fisheries Management Plan, and the Ghana National Aquaculture Development Plan. What successes and lessons have been learned from implementing these policies? The second question is, your ministry and partners have been implementing the Aquaculture for Food and Jobs program. What opportunities do you see for empowering youths and women to engage in and benefit from the fisheries and the aquaculture sector in Ghana? You have the floor, ma'am. Hello, is Marianne available?
Ambassador, I see that the panelist is no longer here.
Okay, so let me then quickly go back to Rwanda, whom we didn't ask questions. If he can just quickly touch on two questions before we wrap up the session.
Prof, I see. No, please carry on.
Morocco? Is Morocco here? Ambassador?
Is Morocco around?
Yes, please.
Morocco
Oui,
is on,
oui,
is on the
je suis
platform.
là. Oui,
Hello?
monsieur, je suis avec
Morocco
vous.
is on the platform. If the Kingdom of Morocco is on the platform,
Prof. Morocco is here.
I'll proceed to ask you to take the floor for brief opening remarks and to share some perspective on two questions that we want you to share your thoughts. One is the Kingdom of Morocco has successfully expanded its capture fisheries production, especially from marine fisheries, partly through implementing the Haliotis strategy. What interventions has been put in place to boost your aquaculture production? And secondly, what policies are currently being implemented to support the development of fish processing industries in Morocco? You may take the floor, ma'am.
Merci, chère Excellence. Donc, Madame, Monsieur, Excellence, honorables participants, je vous remercie pour l'invitation du Royaume du Maroc pour partager son expérience avec ce panel et je remercie les organisateurs pour la qualité de l'organisation et pour le rapport. Le Royaume du Maroc, comme vous savez, comme les autres pays de notre continent africain, considère le secteur de la pêche et de l'aquaculture comme un pilier essentiel de l'économie de notre pays qui contribue de manière significative à la sécurité alimentaire et aux recettes d'exportation de notre pays et au PIB et aussi à la création d'emplois. Avec un littoral de 3500 km de façade maritime, un écosystème d'un poids parmi les plus grands au monde, le Maroc dispose d'une biodiversité marine abondante. Ces captures, le Maroc, avant l'année 2000, elle était inférieure à 900 000 tonnes et en 2022, ils ont atteint un chiffre de 1,6 million de tonnes. Ceci grâce à la lancée en 2009 par Sa Majesté le Roi, que Dieu l'assiste, de la stratégie de pêche et de l'aquaculture nommée le plan Haliotis, qui est une stratégie de développement et de modernisation du secteur de la pêche maritime. Il s'appuie sur trois choses. Donc, c'est une stratégie intégrée, focalisée sur la ressource, la durabilité de la ressource, le développement de l'infrastructure, la valorisation des produits de la pêche et mettre l'être humain au centre de tout ça en assurant sa sécurité et en assurant sa couverture sociale. Donc, le volet social est un point essentiel de cette stratégie. Cette stratégie dispose de trois axes, durabilité, performance et compétitivité, avec des axes transversales comme le cadre juridique qui a été adapté à cette stratégie, le renforcement de contrôle par la création d'une direction de contrôle et des moyens de contrôle au niveau national et des plans de contrôle, et aussi par le renforcement du volet formation et gouvernance. Concernant les questions qui ont été posées, et donc par rapport à l'axe durabilité, donc pour pérenniser les acquis en matière de gestion durable des ressources halieutiques, il a fallu s'attarder sur un point essentiel qui est la recherche halieutique. Donc, le Maroc, durant ces dernières années, il a donné tous les moyens à l'Institut national de recherche halieutique pour acquérir des bateaux nouvelle génération et les moyens de laboratoire pour accompagner cette gestion durable des pêcheries. Et de là, 30 plans d'aménagement et de gestion ont été publiés par des textes juridiques, notamment pour la pêche des petits pélagiques qui constitue 80% des captures au niveau national, et aussi pour les espèces démersales telles que le poulpe, etc., et les grands pélagiques. Et l'objectif de cette durabilité est d'assurer, de préserver la biodiversité des écosystèmes ainsi que des espèces et d'exploiter de manière durable ces stocks. Il y avait aussi une stratégie qui accompagnait cette stratégie de gestion durable des ressources, c'est la stratégie de mise en place d'un réseau d'aires marines protégées et aussi d'implantation de récifs artificiels pour réhabiliter nos écosystèmes. Et ceci dans le cadre du programme Économie bleue et stratégie Économie bleue de notre pays, en plus des mesures d'accompagnement telles que les mesures de contrôle et l'équipement des barques et des bateaux par des systèmes de VMS, et aussi une expérience qui est vraiment intéressante à partager, qui est la pêche sentinelle. Ça veut dire
rendre le pêcheur observateur. C'est les pêcheurs qui se trouvent tout le temps dans le domaine marin. Et donc, ce qui nous rapporte comme information s'avère très utile pour les chercheurs et pour les aménageurs. Aussi, la recherche scientifique a été renforcée pour accompagner le domaine de l'aquaculture. Si le Maroc s'avère performant en matière de capture, en matière d'aquaculture, il a lancé son agence nationale de développement de l'aquaculture en 2011. Et cette agence de l'aquaculture, c'était un levier stratégique pour développer la production halieutique et renforcer la sécurité alimentaire. Nous allons donner un chiffre. Par exemple, 2023, le secteur a enregistré 1719 tonnes et actuellement, le Maroc vise 450 projets aquacoles, dont 123 sont à caractère social pour atteindre une production prévisionnelle à moyen terme de 400 000 tonnes. L'agence de l'aquaculture a travaillé sur plusieurs volets, la mise en place des plans aquacoles au niveau régional, l'accompagner l'investisseur, la promotion de l'aquaculture et aussi il a intégré les jeunes promoteurs, entrepreneurs et aussi les coopératives de pêcheurs dans les projets aquacoles. Et bien sûr, il y a eu un cadre juridique qui a été renforcé, aussi un cadre institutionnel pour l'aquaculture qui est le Code de l'aquaculture et un conseil pour l'aquaculture. Il y a aussi dans le volet innovation et recherche le développement des techniques intégrées dans les systèmes innovants adaptés aux conditions hydroclimatiques de l'Atlantique et aussi aux souches génétiques de cette zone et introduire la digitalisation pour améliorer la gestion et la surveillance des zones aquacoles. Concernant votre question pour les industries, le Maroc n'a pas ménagé d'efforts pour ce volet et donc il a accompagné l'approvisionnement des unités de valorisation par un programme d'abord de renforcement des infrastructures de débarquement et des réseaux de commercialisation et d'accueil par des marchés de gros qui ont été construites et des halles nouvelle génération, ainsi que des structures d'accueil le long du littoral qui sont des points de débarquement aménagés et des villages de pêcheurs. Aussi, il a organisé le métier de maraillage qui a joué un rôle très important par la restructuration et la valorisation des produits de la pêche. Et il a aussi accompagné les industries sur les marchés porteurs, notamment par un label Maroc et actuellement en cours par un programme d'éco-certification pour répondre aux exigences internationales des marchés en matière de développement durable. Un partenariat fort pour une gestion durable des écosystèmes marins en Afrique a été lancé par l'initiative Ceinture Bleue en 2016 dans la COP22 à Marrakech. Et cette initiative il a une vision claire, un océan résilient et un système de production de produits alimentaires de la mer durable fondé sur la science. Et vraiment, il faut souligner ce point parce que c'est très important pour nous tous d'utiliser ces échanges entre nous et ces compétences pour améliorer nos gestions de pêcherie et aussi pour avoir une aquaculture durable pour notre continent. Donc, l'objectif de cette initiative s'appuie sur un objectif primordial qui consiste à fournir une plateforme de collaboration plaçant les utilisateurs des océans, en particulier les pays africains, au cœur du processus afin qu'ils puissent agir ensemble en vue de garantir la résilience des océans, la durabilité du secteur de la pêche et le caractère sain de l'écosystème. Bien sûr, dans ce cadre, il y a la promotion et le soutien de l'aquaculture, le renforcement du rôle de l'industrie de l'innovation, la modernisation de la flotte, la création de réseaux d'aires marines protégées et le renforcement de l'observation des océans. Je vais finir par les défis. Donc, nous tous, on est confrontés de défis et on est là pour travailler ensemble pour contrecarrer, pour faire face à ces défis. Donc, le défi commun pour un océan durable en tant qu'Africain, en plus de tous les défis que nous avons en matière de changement climatique, de pollution, de dégradation d'écosystèmes, d'espèces envahies, INN, et on doit développer et renforcer le système de suivi, de contrôle, de traçabilité des activités de pêche. Aussi, on doit mobiliser des fonds pour financer la recherche, l'innovation et le développement de solutions de digitalisation et du AI dans le secteur de pêche et de l'aquaculture. Développer la coopération africaine pour améliorer les connaissances et les initiatives en matière de gestion durable des pêcheries, en particulier au profit de la pêche artisanale dans notre continent connaît une grande importance.
Thank you
en
so
matière
much. If
de
you
nombre
can,
de pêcheurs
if you can
artisans.
conclude,
Mettre
please.
en œuvre la stratégie africaine d'économie bleue pour libérer le potentiel marin du continent en développant une aquaculture durable de demain. Donc, à la fin, je vous dis, assurons la santé et la durabilité de nos océans pour les années à venir par une recherche renforcée afin de renforcer la résilience des secteurs pêche et aquaculture. Merci.
Thank you so much for your very insightful contribution. Now I will call Dr. Hastings Zidana from Malawi to take the floor. Dr. Zidana, if you can give us a very quick opening remarks and help us with some insights on these two questions we have for you. One is Malawi has made significant growth in fisheries and aquaculture production. How can your country improve the effectiveness of fisheries resource management to ensure sustainability and accelerated growth in the sector? And secondly, are there any funding interventions Malawi has implemented that have successfully boosted the enterprises engaged in small-scale operators along the fisheries and aquaculture value chains? Dr. Zidane, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. My opening remark will be on the just to inform the panel that as Malawi, the aquaculture and fisheries industry is being supported also by the development agenda, which is the Malawi 2063 development agenda, and it's under the pillar which is agriculture productivity and commercialization. So under this pillar, we have got the targets which we would like to meet as a country and as a sector. On the fisheries and aquaculture sector, we have got a target which we would like to produce at least 700,000 metric tons of fish by 2063. And for us to be able to meet these targets, we have got the priority areas which have also been set in our fisheries and aquaculture policy. The strategy number one is to improve on the sustainable fisheries management and utilization, whereby we would like to prioritize our fish production from the capture fisheries, but also to improve on our fish post-harvest losses, but also to improve on our per capita fish consumption. And the strategy number two is on sustainable aquaculture intensification and development, which aims to have an optimally productive and socially equitable small and large-scale aquaculture businesses, but to also have aquaculture investments which are resilient to climate shocks through sustainable production systems. And then we also have another priority area or as a strategy, which is commercialization of fish processing and value addition. In here, we would like to enhance the businesses and entrepreneurial capacities and skills from our capture fisheries and aquaculture subsectors, but also to improve on service management of the aquatic food and food products and to be competitive on the market. And then another strategy is on the research and development, whereby we would like to develop the capacity of the government and local management institutions to save the industry, but also to promote the applied research in fisheries and aquaculture sector so that we can monitor and impact the issues of pollution and environmental changes, which also includes climate change. And another priority area is on inclusiveness, whereby we would like to have an inclusive social development and decent employment. In this area, we would like to provide the enabling environment for the fish-dependent communities, but also to be gender equitable in manner. But we also like to the employment in the fisheries and aquaculture sector to be decent. So those are the 5 priority areas which we are using as a strategy to develop our industry in Malawi, and they are also embedded in our fisheries and aquaculture policy. Now that's my opening remark on what areas we are working on to improve our aquaculture and fisheries industry in a sustainable manner. But now, on the questions, the funding issue, we have had several funding that is from the government side, but also from the donor community. The most recent funding which we got was from the African Development Bank, thanks to Dr. Ahmed Khan, who is also available on this panel. They provided us with resources and funding, which enabled us to improve our fisheries, aquaculture, but also our improving the commercialization of our fish value chain. This funding enables us to train our small-scale fishers and our small-scale farmers on other incubation processes. So we were able to train almost 3,000 fishers and aquaculture small-scale producers to be able to train them in various techniques of sustainable fisheries and aquaculture management. But also we improved our value chain by providing the cold chain facilities, whereby we have provided the refrigerated vans to cooperatives who are supposed to be trading in fish and fishery products, but also to work on cross-border, to improve on cross-border trade between Malawi and neighboring countries. But also the funding enabled us to improve, to do the genetic improvement of our aquaculture industry. So we have improved the stock which we use in aquaculture, which is the Oreochromis chilanas, to improve from generation 0. Now we are working on the generation 3. So that's the some of one of the fundings which I can say. But we also received funding from the USAID to restore our fisheries. So we were able to train our commercial fishers on the issue of conservation and the management of our fisheries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to convey our appreciation and gratitude to all our speakers for their very valuable insights that will be very valuable also to other countries and participants. We thank you profoundly. So now I will hand over to Dr. Debisi to take over from me from here. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the webinar. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, Ambassador. I'm
Yes.
seeing Mrs. Marianne from Ghana is back
Ms.
online.
Marianne is back with us. So I take that back and call on Ms. Marianne Papa to take the floor and give us very quick opening remarks and to answer 2 questions that we have for you while you do your intervention. Marianne, over the years, your ministry, the Ministry of Aquaculture and Fisheries, has been actively involved in designing policies and strategies for sustainable fisheries and aquaculture in Ghana, such as the Fisheries Act, the Fisheries Management Plan, and the Ghana National Aquaculture Development Plan. What successes and lessons have been learned from implementing those plans? 2, your ministry and partners have been implementing the Aquaculture for Food and Jobs program. What opportunities do you see for empowering youth and women to engage in and benefit from the fisheries and aquaculture sectors in Ghana?
Thank you very much. My name is Hayford, and I'm representing the Chief Director of the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture. I would say that the Minister has been very much engaged with the Chief Director, who is Manakakwa, has been very much engaged with the new Minister who has just been brought on board and has been vetted by Parliament and has been approved to become the Minister for Fisheries. So I will continue and answer the questions that people. There has been a new plan for the national aquaculture development, and this is being implemented. And some of the activities undergoing on the training of farmers in fish feed production at commission at the training centers. We have about 4 training centers that have this farmers being trained in, as well as the staff of the commission. I will also say that to complement the aquaculture for food and jobs, the ministry has been able to construct a state-of-the-art training center, which has also trained stakeholders, the youth who have just graduated from the universities. A total of about 96 people have been trained, 61 males and then 35 females. And a few of them have gone to Israel to continue. Such people were provided with inputs and holding facilities to be able to help them to go into fish farming. Additionally, I'll say that the ministry also in 2020 launched the aquaculture for food and jobs, and then in 2024, which was last year, relaunched it again and partnered the private sector to train about 10,000 youth with resources to go into aquaculture. Under the aquaculture for food and jobs, the ministry has been able to provide inputs and holding facilities to schools, selected schools, prison services, youth groups, among others. And these have also been involved in aquaculture. We also say that previously the act, which is undergoing review, seems to be a bit silent on aquaculture activities. And so the bill which has already been sent to Parliament has been strengthened and brought on board aquaculture activities. Now, in terms of sustainable fisheries management, we have had close seasons. I would say that it's a close season for all fleets. We have the artisanal and inshore fleet since 2019, except 2020. The objective of the close season is to allow the fish to spawn and increase their recruitment potential into the fishery. The artisanal sector have observed about 1 month close season from 1st to 31st July. Industrial trawl from 1st July to 31st August, and then the tuna, which falls under the ICAT. In terms of the success over there, we'll say that even though we expect that in the long term, there's going to be improvement in stock, we have seen some marginal improvement in the stock. And we'll say that all the sectors are abiding by the regulations, except probably if you want to report, there may be about less than 1% probably who may probably find themselves breaking the rules. But we say that it has been very, very successful. We've also implemented the 3-year moratorium, which is ongoing. Studies have shown that the number of canoes are increasing, and therefore there's a need to cap them. So we have had various stakeholder meetings, and the industry have agreed, even though there are a few challenges with those who produce the canoes, but then we'll say that there have been some successes. We also intend to do reclassification of the canoes because some of them are so big to the extent that we'll say that they don't fall within the canoe demarcation. We have also, with the support, all this with the support of the donor partners, we've also tried to introduce the electronic monitoring system, which we have piloted on 3 tuna trawler vessels. We hope that we are going to expand that. There are a few challenges, but we intend to address those challenges and have all these. On this electronic monitoring system, we have the cameras and the rest, which will complement the work of the observers on board. I would say also that one of the very important measures being put in place is the marine protected area in collaboration with the USAID, a project called the GFRA Ghana Fisheries Recovery Activity, and also other private sector organizations. We are putting together measures by which to be able to come out with an MPA. The ministry has also implemented what is known as the Trout Gear Directives, realized that the fishing trawls are using unapproved, some of them are using unapproved gears, and therefore there's a need for us to look at their gears. So what we are actually doing now is to do the arrival and departure inspection. Anytime the vessels are going to sea, we check their gears. And when they are coming, we also check their gears to make sure that what they sent are the very ones that have been brought on board. Also, what we couldn't do was the at-sea inspection, which we are trying to collaborate with the Ghana Navy to be able to do that. In the inland sector, we are doing the census. We did that in 1999. That was a long time ago. And there'll be we started the census to be able to know the total number of canoes at the inland sector. We have counted about 17,000 plus. It's ongoing, and there'll be more being up and for us to be able to know what we have there. In terms of co-management policy, which happens to be the policy document, we have instituted a co-management organization formation. We haven't been able to do all, but we have formed a small pelagic co-management committees that are at the regional level that are supporting the small-scale industry. Mr. Chair, these are a few things that so far involve in terms of aquaculture for food and jobs, as well as the policy purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for stepping in for your director, and please convey our congratulations to the minister, and we look forward to deepening our collaborations with her and the government of Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, that was all we have for you on this segment. I will hand over once again to our very able Dr. Dibisi to take up from me from here on. Have a very wonderful rest of the program. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for Professor Carr for the steady hand moderating that session. I would like to now invite Ms. Henrice Stobesand, Fisheries and Aquaculture Specialist, the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, to please take the floor for reactions.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Yeah, dear excellencies, dear members of the Malabo Montpellier panel, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, I also would like to thank the panel members for authoring this important report. Thank you to the previous speakers for the excellent input and the valuable insights, and for the invitation to speak here today on behalf of the BMZ. We are really very pleased that the fisheries and aquaculture sector is being recognized in that way, because we find that the sector still receives far too little attention from governments and international development institutions worldwide, despite its importance for sustainable development and the achievement of quite a few SDGs, most notably SDG 2 on zero hunger and SDG 14 on life below water. So this spotlight is really extremely welcome. So for many years, the BMZ has been committed to promoting this sector as a decisive step towards achieving food security and nutrition, and as an important lever for food, for transforming food systems. Indeed, we are considered one of the largest donors in the sustainable blue economy sector, and the fifth bilateral donor in fisheries, with an operational volume of around 270 million euros in 2023. And I'm saying this for no other reason but to really emphasize the importance we attach to the sector. And in our work, we really focus on cooperating with our African partners because we see really great potential here. And we have two large global programs running on fisheries and aquaculture, mainly active in African partner countries. So as we heard and we discussed today, and so much has already been said, it's absolutely crucial to boost both production and consumption of aquatic foods on the African continent sustainably. That means within planetary boundaries and by leaving no one behind. Yeah, and we have heard so much already on what needs to be done and scaled up. And we can fully support the recommendations of the report as presented earlier. And perhaps let me just briefly outline a few thoughts and a few pillars of our engagement. So what does the sustainable development of the sector in Africa entail? What innovations are we pushing for? So first thought, it means to think big and small at the same time. What do we mean by that? So first, think big. The fisheries and aquaculture sector should be fully integrated into national food strategies and policies. And to achieve SDG 2, local food security must be absolutely prioritized. In that regard, school feeding programs that integrate fish products, in the form of fish powder are a really important strategy. And we have supported pilot projects, for example, in Mauritania and Malawi for fish powder to be included in school meals. Another really important policy innovation is the integration of the fisheries and aquaculture sector into national climate adaptation and mitigation, as well as biodiversity strategies. And here, when African countries work together, they really have a major voice in harnessing the climate and biodiversity potential of aquatic foods in multilateral processes. Integrating the biodiversity and climate objective into fisheries management is also a goal of our new global program on sustainable aquatic foods. And this program is actually co-funded by the European Union with up to 11 million euros to strengthen the integrated conservation and sustainable use of the Benguela current large marine ecosystem. In addition, thinking big, investments in larger aquaculture facilities are crucial instruments for promoting the sustainable growth of the aquaculture sector. That's why in 2023, we invested 60 million euro in the AquaSpark Africa Fund. And this fund aims to promote local economies and create jobs by investing in African aquaculture industry. Second, thinking small, and that is really important and I think cannot be mentioned often enough. Small-scale actors are really central actors to sustainably feed Africa's population due to their multidimensional contributions to the social, economic, ecological, and cultural welfare of millions of people. And they are also a sort of safety net when it comes to food and nutrition security. And that is not some romantic development narrative, but actually a scientific fact. And perhaps the most widely known study and initiative is the Illuminating Hidden Harvest initiative by FAO, World Fish and Duke University, highlighting the essential role of small-scale actors for food and nutrition security worldwide. So acknowledging small-scale fisheries as the largest sector of the blue economy in terms of jobs, livelihoods, and food and nutrition security is absolutely crucial. And this recognition must be central to policy decisions and ocean governance moving forward. On the same note, support, as was also mentioned by many speakers before, supporting small-scale aquaculture production systems is fundamental to achieve SDG 2 on zero hunger, as small-scale production requires fewer inputs, has lower impacts, and can be easily multiplied. In our global program on sustainable aquatic foods, for example, we develop extensive low traffic pond systems that benefit both people and the environment. We also support integrated rice fish farming in Madagascar, and really are focusing on these low-tech, high-impact innovations in the sector. By, for example, as was mentioned as well as a great innovation, we also invest in aquaculture business schools to support producers' trainings and business skills. We developed adaptation measures for pond farming and rice fish cultures against climate change impacts in Malawi and Madagascar. And we are also currently funding a research project by the University of Wageningen to explore the potential of the black soldier fly larvae as an alternative sustainable fish feed for small-scale aquaculture producers in Uganda. So here we are really, as I said, focusing on these high impact, low-tech innovation, because a lot can be done here and achieved also in the short term. Lastly, last point, but not least important. So the great potential of fisheries and aquaculture for African countries, which we discussed today, can only be realized, of course, if there's an effective and responsible maritime policy to protect the resources. So this includes transparency in fisheries management and all blue economy related policies to improve policy and decision making, to be data driven, to be inclusive and accountable. And that is why the BMZ is a long-standing supporter of the Fisheries Transparency Initiative for increased transparency and more sustainable management of marine fisheries. And actually 9 African countries are already implementing the FITI standard, among them Mauritania, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Guinea, Madagascar. And we very much welcome the recent signing of an MOU between the FITI, so the Fisheries Transparency Initiative, and the African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources. And here I would like to take the opportunity to really highlight the essential support that FITI can provide to countries in meeting their notification obligations under the 2022 WTO Agreement on Fisheries Subsidies. This agreement represents a major achievement for marine sustainability, and the FITI is really a great tool to meet its obligations. And Germany looks forward to its early entry into force, and we encourage all countries that have not yet done so to submit their instruments of acceptance to close the gap of 21 signatures still missing. We also, lastly, would like to encourage all states with an interest in fisheries to ratify important fisheries-related agreements. For example, the Port State Measures agreements against IUU fishing. And we also strongly encourage more regional collaboration to really increase the benefits from the fisheries and aquaculture sector for African citizens. For example, via our global program, Sustainable Aquatic Foods, we aim to strengthen the SADC regional fisheries policy processes and institutional capacity. So let's really use this panel in today's report as a starting point to tackle the lack of political attention to this sector and ensure that sustainable fisheries and aquaculture can fulfill their great potential for sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stuyvesant Andreas, for your reactions to the report. I would like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Ahmed Khan, Chief Fisheries Officer, the African Development Bank Group. Dr. Khan, we have received your submission, and we'd also like to give you a chance to take the floor if you would be so kind.
Thank
you. Can you hear me?
Just one clarification though, DBC. Dr. Khan, this event is still being live streamed though, and we think you didn't feel comfortable with that. It will be an disruption to stop it now, and to lose the audience. Just want to make sure that you know that. So we couldn't technically do that.
That's okay. That's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been an exciting day. Exciting speakers. More than 100 people online. It's amazing. So I'm just happy to be here today. Very thrilled to be here and to participate. Your Excellency, honorable ministers and designates, fellow panelists, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. On behalf of the Directorate of Agriculture and Agro-Industry, under the leadership of VP Beth Dunford, I'm very honored and delighted to take part in this August gathering, which is actually taking place in January, and to commend the forum co-chairs and the panel for the timeliness of this very important report, especially after the CADEP summit in Kampala this year. Our goals and mandates as a bank revolve around 3 pillars: financial lending, resource mobilization, and knowledge production, which are all aligned to this new report. As you may know, fisheries and the blue economy is central to the bank's latest 10-year strategy and our priority areas, also known as the high fives. In fact, it falls directly under the blue economy flagship, which I coordinate, one of several flagships to support the implementation of Feed Africa High Five. The good news is the fisheries and aquaculture portfolio is growing, covering all regions on the continent, with both sovereign and non-sovereign operations, as well as national and regional projects. This is very pleasing, given and knowing that the global outlook of the blue economy is estimated at trillions of dollars, and that seafood production and trade is close to $500 million, with an increased exportation from Africa, gives one a hope that we could be part of this global trade. Now, despite the rich natural resources, several large marine ecosystems, transboundary lakes, and rivers, the consumption of seafood is still half the global average, and even less than the WHO recommendation as a superfood. For this reason and many others, the bank has been supporting and will continue to support fisheries and the blue economy across the continent. As we celebrate this year our 60th anniversary and under the Feed Africa Dakar 2, we will keep this commitment to feed ourselves and to feed the world. This is even more important today as fisheries are the most traded agri-commodity in the world. The question I would like to answer is, how is this report aligned with the bank's portfolio and our operations? I will have to say I like the fish-friendly part of it. It gives the sense of sustainability, but also it lends kudos to the word amitié in French. Policy innovations for sustainable fisheries and aquaculture in Africa is timely. It provides an overview of government actions that have contributed to creating a conducive environment for sustainable development. We heard from the honorable ministers from Malawi and Rwanda and many others, and I'm thrilled to see the enthusiasm and to see the efforts they're making to make fisheries a core commodity that aligns well with the CADEP goals. Fisheries and aquaculture also cuts across, within the aquatic food realm, cuts across multiple SDGs. Not only SDG 1 and 2, we can think about 3, 5, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, even 17, partnership. So with this, we really want to congratulate the 4 countries in the report, Ghana, Malawi, Morocco, and Mozambique, who have made it, who have shown all of us that we can do it. In fact, we are and have been proud partners on their development agenda as reflected in our country strategy papers and within our indicative operational pipeline. Currently, as the Honorable Minister of Malawi mentioned, we have 2 projects in Malawi, close to 20 million US dollars, and we are about to see whether we can have a second phase. We have a project in the pipeline in Ghana, targeting the Food and Jobs Program. And we have had several dialogues and conferences in Mozambique, the first Blue Economy Conference hosted by a nation, and of course, Morocco for the Blue Belt Initiative. We think these might lead to more future investments in the future. These are just examples. The 4 success factors identified in the report are all part of our operational modalities. A bit of a deja vu for me: infrastructure, technology, regulations, support for small fishers and small-scale smallholder farmers, innovation and research funding, regional cooperation. In fact, the last one is the one that actually captured my imagination: regional cooperation, integration, and trade facilitation. In our last 2 approved board fisheries projects in Benin, the Republic of Benin and Cote d'Ivoire, which is about $30 million each, and the other 2 in the pipeline for Sao Tome and Principe and Madagascar, they all share these success factors in their interventions. So it is with delight and a pleasure to be here to say that this particular report is in synchrony and very aligned with what we do at the bank, and we'll love to continue to do. Moreover, the bank have partnered with global centers of excellence, such as Worldfish under the Technology for African Agriculture Transformation, TAT, to support fish farmers and provide technologies for both input and output supply and to boost fisheries production and productivity. We are also working with UN partners such as FAO and UNIDO to support blue industries and strategic investment plans, post-harvest utilization and quality infrastructure for competitiveness and intra-regional fish trade. These examples are better captured under the ProFish Blue project currently implemented in the SADC region, where we have built upon the one-stop border post program for trade facilitation of fishery products, as well as to support genetic improvement and combat IUU. Given the successful impacts and outputs of this particular project, we have been inspired and working with IGAD and other RECs in the Horn of Africa to finance a similar project focusing on similar approach, a regional approach, one that looks at transboundary fisheries management, intra-regional fish trade, and climate resilience. In the IGAD region, the project is financed under our transition state facility in building social and ecological resilience. These regional fisheries projects are designed and aligned with our Integrate Africa agenda, one of the other high fives, and to build upon the bank's work in infrastructure and regional trade corridors. Distinguished participants, I conclude with 4 policy orientation on financing. As I said earlier, I really like the fish-friendly part, and I think that would be my first point. We need to explore new opportunities to develop specific and new financing mechanisms linked to fisheries and the broader blue economy. Whether we're talking about payment for ecosystem services, biodiversity offsets, conservation levies, and blue bonds. These are fish-friendly financial instruments that are currently not yet widely employed on the continent. As well as fisheries risk insurance. I believe, and some of you will agree with me, the livestock sector has done pretty well when it comes to insurance than the fishery sector. 2, given the Malabo Declaration, we need more sovereign budget contributions to aquatic food systems, especially on the developmental impact of food, jobs, and trade nexus. It's one of the few commodities on the continent that support all 3 in terms of its developmental impact. However, often, as you all know, fisheries are overlooked, despite this particular transformative impact. 3, we also need to strongly support private sector investment with enabling environment and opportunities for public-private partnership, incubation and startups, and adopting best practices in fisheries governance, whether nationally as well as regionally. The last one, we will continue to seek co-financing and partnership with development partners, bilateral organizations, multilateral, as well as we have done in the past, especially with the World Bank, IFAD, the Islamic Development Bank, USAID, JICA, and others, of course, and GIZ. We're happy to work with you as well and to continue to do this collaborative work together. Distinguished participants, I would like to reiterate our congratulations to Malabo Forum co-chairs, University of Bonn, ZEF, and to Academia 2063 for this milestone publication and for providing us an opportunity to partake in this forum. The bank stands ready to support its regional member countries and partners in this transformative journey and to mobilize more resources with their blue economy and agriculture investment plans now and in the future. Thank you once again. Merci bien. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed Khan, Chief Fisheries Officer for the Africa Development Bank Group. With this, I move to the penultimate session for the closing remarks. I would like to invite again Her Excellency Dr. Assia Ben Salah Alawi, Ambassador at Large to the King of Morocco and co-chair of the Malabo Montpellier Forum, to deliver her closing remarks. Dr. Alawi. You're muted.
What about now? Is it okay?
Yes, it's perfect.
I have to end on my telephone, but I think it's okay. You can all hear me. That's the most important. As we end this enlightening and thought-provoking forum, as we have heard, I thank you all for your invaluable contributions today. The discussions we've had highlight the urgency and importance of addressing the wide range of challenges facing Africa's fishery and aquaculture sector, and aligned by most of the speakers. The potential of Africa's aquatic resources is undeniable. Our continent is home to some of the world's most diverse and abundant marine and freshwater ecosystems. Yet, as we have heard today, this potential is being undermined by a range of complex challenges: overfishing, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, climate change, dwindling fish stocks, and weak governance frameworks at times. These challenges seriously threaten our environment and the livelihoods of millions of Africans who depend on fisheries for food, income, and cultural heritage as well. The Malabo Montpellier Forum's report has come at the right time to support efforts to reimagine how we approach the governance and management of these valuable resources. The report showcases the successful institutional and policy innovations and programmatic interventions to positively contributed to the growth of the fisheries and aquaculture sectors of Ghana, Malawi, Morocco, and Mozambique. And equally here, and one of the key messages I take away from today's discussions, it is not enough to maintain the status quo or to react to problems as they arise. We need to be proactive. As discussed, regional cooperation is paramount. The challenges faced in fisheries do not respect national boundaries, as everybody knows. Therefore, need to be addressed through strong regional frameworks. By leveraging resources and sharing effective approaches, we can create more effective and resilient policies for managing shared marine and freshwater ecosystems. Strict enforcement of policies against illegal practices and promoting responsible fishing are key for effective fisheries management. Monitoring and enforcing technology innovations, satellite tracking, are becoming increasingly crucial to tackle IUU fishing. Moreover, empowering local community to take an active role in monitoring and managing resources through co-managed structures can also strengthen the sustainability of our fisheries. Equally important is aquaculture, as it has the potential to become a transformative industry for Africa, especially in terms of job creation, and food security. Yet, we need to ensure that its expansion is done sustainably. This includes investing in research and development to improve production systems, introducing climate-smart practices, and ensuring social inclusivity. Additionally, we need to work to ensure that the private sector plays an active role in shaping the future of fisheries and aquaculture. With the right policies and incentives in place, private investment in the sector can bring much needed innovation, technology, and infrastructure. However, these investments need to align with broader goals of sustainability and equity. Here, public-private partnership can be a key driver for change. Ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that the challenges are significant, but the opportunities are just as great. We have the knowledge, the expertise, and the will to drive change. The policy innovations we need are already within our reach, and that remains is the courage to effectively implement them and the commitment to work together. As we move forward from this forum, I urge us all to remain focused on the shared goals of sustainability, development, and economic growth, while being mindful of the environment and social dimension underpinning these efforts. I'm happy to see that my own country is doing exactly what has been recommended by most and is endeavoring to achieve through the successes that everybody has been noting here, in line with the vision and ambition of His Majesty the King for our continent. I look forward to continued collaboration with all of your governments, industry leaders, civil society organizations, and development partners as we work together to transform Africa's fisheries and aquaculture sectors into engines of Agenda 2063 to achieve prosperity, sustainability, and resilience at large. Once again, thank you for your dedication, passion, and insights. Let us leave here with renewed determination to turn challenges into opportunities and ideas for action. Thank you again for your patience.
Inspiring words as always. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those rousing closing remarks. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct pleasure to thank, on behalf of the organizers, to thank all our speakers and, of course, our participants for engaging with us in this 15th Malabo Montpellier Forum. We invite you to visit the website, the MAMO panel, mamopanel.org, to download the report. The links have been pasted in the chat, but also you can go online to download the report and the 14 other reports available in the resources menu to get into deeper details of the technical documents that have been launched today. We also encourage you to follow the work of the Malabo Montpellier panel online on the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, at Mamo Panel. Our LinkedIn and Facebook accounts are the Malabo Montpellier panel. And we invite you to also join our mailing list to keep abreast with the research and activities of the panel. A link will be shared in the chat and also available online. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for participating in this meeting. And it is our sincere hope that the impacts of this report will be far-reaching and will spur Africa toward shared prosperity. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you so much for your moderation all through.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for your time. You all have a great weekend. Sure. Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right.
The recording has stopped. Thank you.